Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is Windows Weekly episode 498 for Wednesday, December 28th, 2016. The year's best. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of Windows Weekly. I gave Paul and Mary Jo the holiday week off, as we did all the staff, so they can enjoy time with family and friends. I hope you're doing the same. But we didn't want to leave you high and dry without a Windows Weekly. And you know, this was such a banner year. I think we've got some great episodes, or great clips from prior episodes. We call it our best of 2016. A lot of you submitted suggestions, so I thank you for that. We will be back with a brand new show, if that's what you need, if that's what you want. We ended the year with a bang with Chris Capicella, the CMO at Microsoft. Who knows what will the new year will bring? But our next show we'll be back on Wednesday. Let's see, that's January 4th, 2017, at our usual time, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 UTC, with a new episode of Windows Weekly. Let's kick things off though with one of the I think this has to be the earliest clip we've shown from any of our shows. January 6th of last year, or of 2016. Not quite last year yet. A big milestone for Windows 10. All right. Well, there is a big story this week, and we kind of had the tease on our last show. By the way, Chris Capicella, great. Mm-hmm. Love him. Yep. And it was nice to have him on the show, and I think we got a lot of attention for it, rightly so, because that was a scoop, big interview. And one of the things he said is, we will have another number of activations, and they did.
We have a number.
We have a number. It's a big number.
Yeah, it is a big number.
But as I saw you tweet...
200 million.
200 million new Windows 10 users. And then they have
to say it like this, 200 million.
But they have to muck it up. Because, as you tweeted, that includes Xbox One updates.
But that's fair, right? I mean, when was the last time they announced the figure, Mary Jo? Do you remember? Maybe August or September?
Yeah, in the fall, we had 110 million, right?
Oh, 110 million. Okay.
Yeah.
So
that was 4 months
presumably,
ago.
that figure or whatever other figure they might have provided would have been just PCs, because at that time,
there was no other upgrade.
That's all that Windows 10 was available on. But we know...
PCs and tablets, that's all it was.
Right. So, I mean, they've been talking about Internet of Things devices. There are phones obviously coming now. There's Xbox One. I mean, these things have to get...
So are they including Raspberry Pis in this number?
Yeah, I would think they are. Because that is a Windows 10 device. Right. Or can be, right? And by the way,
if you're
these are active devices. In other words,
that's the number.
Yeah, this isn't copies of Windows 10 going out in boxes or something. It's these things are out in the world and they're being used. Right. Presumably. I mean, active is an interesting word. It's not activated like, Google says about phones. It's not something you can measure very easily in terms of unit sales, right? Because a lot of stuff that people can download Windows 10 100 times individually. But it's, I guess, active devices.
How many Xbox Ones are out there, though? I mean, that's not a massive.
So the actual technical definition, I got them to tell me what this active number is. It's the number of Windows 10 devices that have been active in the last 28 days. That's what that number is.
Oh, that's a lot then.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So it's not just somebody who installed it and then
usage,
took
right?
it off.
It's actual usage.
People using Windows 10. Oh.
By the way, we complain a lot. I complain a lot about their kind of squishy numbers, especially these days when they're hiding things in their new business groups. This is a good number, right? This is a meaningful number.
Yeah.
It's a real number.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is related to this was a couple of days before they announced this, Net Applications had their usage share statistics for PCs. Worked out if you accept Microsoft's figure of 1.5 billion PCs in the world, but I think it was 165 million were running Windows 10. And so you think, well, what's the delta between that and this 200 million figure? Did these things not line up? And I actually think that delta is the non-PC devices. I think it's Xboxes, phones, IoT devices, whatever.
Yeah, I can tell you what one source told me, and I can't verify this, but I asked more about what's that 200 million number, and they said around 180 PCs, 180 million PCs, around 18 million Xbox Ones, and about a million plus Windows 10 phones, which mean the 950, 950 XL, and the 550.
Interesting.
So it's still a big number for PCs. I mean, it's a put it into perspective. I mean, it's less than XP.
Yeah. Mostly
what is it?
PCs. Yep. Mostly PCs.
What's the
PlayStation? I think they just came up with the figure was like 36 million PlayStation 4s.
Right.
There's a kind of a feeling. Microsoft's not releasing numbers for Xbox One for obvious reasons, but they're basically being outsold by about 2 to 1.
Right, about half.
So
that
18 million figure lines up with that very nicely.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and in terms of other adoption rates for previous versions of Windows, this has got to be the biggest, yes? The fastest.
Well,
by far.
It's also hard to compare, though, too, because with Windows 7, they used to give you the number of licenses sold to the channel. Yeah. So they never gave us the number of
But you understand that makes it even better, right? Because these are actual usage numbers.
This is more like the Android numbers that Google puts out.
Yeah, the activated numbers. During the Windows 7 timeframe, they did this artificially, but they artificially worked it so that 20 million new units every month for Windows 7. That was the run rate, you know. And of course, with Windows 8, we kind of compared whatever they said about Windows 8. And they stopped doing it very quickly, but for a short while there, we could compare the launch of Windows 8 to the launch of Windows 7, and then the run rate of Windows 8 to that of Windows 7. And obviously, that didn't go very well. If you go back to July 29th or whatever that day was, August through January 1st, you basically get over 30 million units per month. It's not units, right? It's usage, but like Mary Jo said, you're comparing apples to oranges in a way, but
that's
the difference is actually
3 times what it was. It used to be 10 million, right? Every month.
20 million.
20,
20
okay.
million.
So it's 50% better than previous.
Yeah. Is that right? Actually, I apologize. No, I'm sorry. Actually, the figure is 40 million. So it's actually double.
Yeah.
But it's more than double because those Windows 7 unit sales or license sales were not computers coming online and being used in the world right away.
There were stores.
So not a lot of them were, a lot of them weren't. So it's better than double Windows 7. And Windows 7 is widely regarded as the most successful version of Windows ever.
Right.
It's also a little tricky to compare because Windows 10 is free mostly right now at this point. Right. So, Windows 7 is
but see, I actually think that also speaks to the success of Windows 10 because the reason people didn't upgrade to Windows before wasn't just the cost. It was because it was very difficult and was error prone and unreliable. And this is something they put out to the general public. In fact, we've accused them of being too aggressive about it. And they obviously feel that technically speaking, it's such an easy process that almost anyone can do it. And they've been successfully doing it by and large. Now I'm going to hear from everyone who hasn't successfully installed Windows 10, but because that's how the internet works. But to me, you can't. I mean, obviously, I think it's an important point to make that it's a different world, of course. But it's also a world where the importance of the PC has sort of declined. That these other devices are taking off, and they're trying to sell or push. I guess not sell, but push Windows 10 in this world, and they're doing it in a different way. And I if you had said when Windows 7 launched that one day Windows will be free. I'm not sure we would have seen that day coming, at least not this quickly. I don't know.
Remember,
obviously an overly.
Okay, now maybe my memory is faulty. A couple of years ago, we covered this rumor that they would be giving away Windows. We talked about it. Maybe it was you said wishfully, they should give away Windows.
I've always thought that, when Apple started doing this, because Apple, I think we should give credit on the desktop. Apple was really the first to kind of do this. And I'm sure they were influenced by what they saw in the mobile space, right? But Apple started some years ago with Mac OS 10, giving that away as a free upgrade to people who already had Macs, which would be everybody, right? So you sort of see that and you realize, this is actually a really smart move. And it's smarter, I think, even with Windows because of the install base, the size of it. And the arguments like Chris Capicella made a couple of weeks ago, where he was talking about the dangers of being on an out-of-date PC platform, especially Windows XP, and how much better it is for Microsoft if everybody's on the same platform. So yeah, I mean, it's come together nicely, but depending on who you talk to, it hasn't come together nicely, but it's come together. Let's say it's come together. I don't know. they're 1/5 of their way to the goal. And remember, it's been about half a year, not even, and they're talking about hitting $1 billion. What was this time frame? 2 to 3 years, right?
2018. By 2018.
What's that? 2018.
By 2018.
Well, they're a fifth of the way there.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good.
Right. And
for,
I remember
a
when
platform that doesn't matter anymore, supposedly.
When they announced that number, I remember asking somebody, I can't remember who, I said, what do you expect the majority of devices will be when you're saying 1 billion? And they said PCs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. There's a 1.5 billion install base, right? I mean,
Yeah. Right.
if the PC market contracted by 50% and everyone was eventually on Windows 10, which is certainly plausible, right? Especially if they don't upgrade to Windows 11 or whatever. That's $1 billion. That's $1 billion right there.
Let me just kind of say what this new thing kind of, at least my understanding of it.
By the way, I challenge you to describe this.
Yeah.
Because it is so nuanced. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I want you to add the nuance to what I'm about to say, because it will not be nuanced. So, everybody understands the notion that new versions of software may not support old hardware. That's understandable.
Every version of Windows. Yep.
Yeah. And Microsoft has always in the past really worked hard to support legacy hardware and legacy software. They're famous for that. It's one of the reasons they've succeeded in enterprise. Mm-hmm. This isn't that. This is kind of turning that on its head.
It is.
Saying if you get new hardware, well, we won't guarantee, in fact, we won't probably allow you to run anything but Windows 10 on it. That's starting, July 2017. Well, and then one more thing I want to say, which is, and what they said was, and this was the thing that I didn't know, and I wanted to ask the experts, all along, we patch the old versions, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows maybe Vista, I don't know, to work with new hardware. Like when the implication being when Intel's Haswell platform came out, we had to push out fixes to Windows 7 so it would work with this is what they're saying, so it would work with Haswell. This is a bit of a shock to me because, as far as I could tell, Intel has been as assiduous as Microsoft at preserving compatibility.
You know what? So we don't actually know the full story there. That's what I just found out on
That's
Monday.
my question. My first question is this the case that Microsoft has all along been patching old versions of Windows to work when new processors come out? Actually, and we should probably say systems on a chip as opposed to just CPU.
Because it's not just the processor. There's a lot of support chips going on there as well.
In fact, x86 doesn't change, but there's other stuff that might change.
This is what I found out. First of all, what you said about system on chip is very important. I think that's the complexity of that kind of a design plays into the issues we're seeing here. But yeah, what I found out was that every single time a new chip comes out, I think we would assume, just because we sort of used to the compatibility and how things work, and you would sort of assume that a new gen Intel processor would just be backwards compatible, and of course it would. Like, why would, that's not the case at all. And there has to be work done from driver makers, PC makers, OS makers, and all kinds of things to ensure that this stuff works properly. And every single time there's a problem.
And this kind of surprises me because, as an example, you can take an old version of Linux, a 10-year-old version of Linux, and run it on a Skylake processor.
Yeah. Now, Linux, I don't know enough about it.
Well, but one thing that happens, and I think this maybe explains it, is the kernel does work, but what happens is when you install on a new machine, you get a lot of new drivers, and those are updated. And so there is additional software that comes with an operating system that does need to be updated. And if that's the case, I can see why Microsoft might, for the first time ever, say we're going to end of life old process.
I think processors. Yeah, I think the capabilities have gotten so impressive. Sorry to talk about.
Part of the end of no, I'm not complaining about you. I'm trying to understand. Part of the end of life of a operating system will include support for new processors.
Yeah, the irony of what happened here, I think, is that I thought I don't want to speak for Mary Jo, but I saw this in the as yet another way to jam Windows 10 down people's throats.
Well, it can look like that, right? It's like we're going to force you to upgrade.
Right, and I would say my calmer morning after I've learned a little bit more information kind of attitude is that it really kind of isn't that, but the ironic bit is at the end of the day they're still getting to the same position. because now they've created a precedent and they've stated explicitly going forward, new versions of silicon, so not just Intel, but AMD, Qualcomm, whatever, will only be supported by the latest version of Windows. And ultimately, they've arrived at the same thing, which I was worried about, which is that when future versions, KB Lake, which was is the next gen, is sort of Service Pack 1 for Skylake or whatever. I don't remember what the one coming after that is, but Intel's working on a 10 nanometer process for that. New Qualcomm.
Lake? Is that what that is?
I can't remember. This stuff will only support Windows 10. So, for most people, people listening to this, people who are not IT pros and don't have to support this stuff at work, it's not a big deal because obviously you always get the newest version of Windows on the new computer. That's the way life is. We're used to that. Businesses, this is going to create an interesting situation. In talking to Mike Nash, he was telling me that the range of HP computers that will be supported on Skylake with Windows 7, and he said no one is asking for Windows 8.1. It's all Windows 7. And that, by the way, this is not uncommon. This is something they go through with every Windows version. It's going to be pretty big. It's a much bigger list than you might imagine. And he doesn't know, but you'd imagine that the companies that support businesses, like I would include Dell and Lenovo in that list, are probably going to have pretty broad support for Windows 7 on Skylake. And so it makes me wonder about, so let's say KB Lake, right? So 1 year from now, new KB Lake based PCs are coming out. Obviously, they're going to come out with Windows 10. Will companies, PC makers, be able to offer Windows 7 downgrade rights to those machines?
No. I think the answer
I don't know. I don't know.
Can't.
I mean, it seems to say that they can't. But how? So Microsoft has just made a very Godfather-esque change to the agreement, haven't they? Then, because this is something that companies have been doing for over a decade, maybe decades. Downgrading. This is part of the Windows Pro upgrade rights or license rights. Does this really change that as well? Because that's a major change.
Yeah, I asked when I talked to a couple of people at Microsoft, I asked specifically about downgrade rates, and I said, "What happened?" This to me is like you guys drawing the line in the sand and saying that's it for downgrade rates, and I couldn't really get an exact confirmation of that. Right? They wouldn't say, "Yep, you're right, that's the end of downgrade," but the way that blog post is worded, I would say yes.
Wow.
I think means,
that's crazy, isn't it?
What are you hearing, Mary Jo, from your enterprise users about this?
Right. So a few enterprise users like on Twitter are like, what the heck? Like, what? Like, are you kidding me? And people at first were like, I don't think you're explaining this right. This can't be what this says. And I'm like, I just ran my blog post past Microsoft after I published it. And I said, am I saying correctly what this blog post said? And they said yes.
So I will just say I read the book before I saw the movie. The book came out on the same day as the movie.
Oh, you are a devoted fan.
So I read it first, and it's interesting. When I was a kid, when The Empire Strikes, I'll tell you another story. When The Empire Strikes Back came out when I was a kid, I read the book first, same thing. And when I was done, my dad said, "How was the book?" And I said, "It was great," but I said it was like, I think they left off the ending, so you'd go see the movie. I didn't understand the notion of a cliffhanger. I just couldn't believe they would end the story midstream, like that. And with this book, it's a different experience. Obviously, I'm like 50 years old now, but it's there's so much more information in the book that when I saw the movie, I was like, what are they doing? Like they really chop up the dialogue. There's entire expositions that are just missing. And I have to think, like, if you just watch the movie, you wouldn't actually understand a lot of what was going on.
I got to get the book now.
I was really confused by
it's a novelization, though, right? The book came out after the movie. It was. They didn't write. It was not like some guy, wrote the book and then they made a movie out of it.
Right. Okay, that's true.
Maybe.
No, you're right. But if you think working off of a script or whatever, however they did it. By the way, I should say the author of this book is Alan Dean Foster. He actually wrote the original Star Wars book. It was credited to George Lucas, but he was the author.
Okay.
Actually, they just put George Lucas's name on it.
Okay.
I don't know if he was involved with the script. I don't think so, but I'm sure they worked out the same script. I'm sure when they actually make the movie, what they have to do is edit it and cut it, and whether or not they filmed every single scene in the book or whatever, I don't know. But and then cut some of it out. Who can say? But there's so much more information in this book than
You
is in
just
the.
convinced me. I have put it
is
in my
the
wish
movie.
list. It'll be in my shopping cart next month.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
When I get my credit. Got some news for Xbox lovers, a new set of features.
It's, as noted, Mary Jo actually added to the notes for some reason. I don't.
She put that in?
Can't believe
Put the
she
exclamation point in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
She's
she got very
so
excited.
excited. I think that's an ironic exclamation point. If there is such a thing. If there
You know
be
what?
such a thing.
I'm going to take the enthusiasm, whether it's forced or not.
Take it.
So most months, Microsoft releases a system update for Xbox One, and they didn't actually release one in in December of last year, and they're not going to release one this month. But they are going to release one next month. And if you're on the preview program, of course, you get it this month. In fact, I think I just got it last night or this morning or whatever. And they took a month off or two. I guess it works as 2 months, really. But they're really adding a lot of features into this update, so it's really cool. And none of this applies to me in the slightest. But some of these features also apply to the Xbox app on Windows 10, the Xbox beta app. And so starting next week on Windows 10, you'll be able to get some of these features as well. And just kind of going through it, I mean, for me personally, actually, none of this is particularly all that exciting. Like an
I like
Avatar
your name
store.
for Party Peak, though. That's good.
Party Peak. I know. I can't believe they didn't use that name.
Party Peak.
Yeah, and the new Xbox Guide, the ability to see who's in a party before you join it. In other words, one of your friends says, "Hey, join my party," and you're going to get into some game, and you're like, "Okay," and then you get in there and you realize a bunch of people that are
losers.
terrible. Yeah, so now you can kind of peek into the party first and then decide whether to join it. Really, really
I wish
smart.
we had that for real life.
I do too. I know, exactly. What are you doing tonight? Like, why?
Tell me about it. Just give me some information before
Or someone
I say.
invites you over to dinner and you arrive and there's another couple there too, and it's like, thanks.
I know. I've had that happen. I don't like that.
Yeah.
No.
You could have
No,
told
I don't
me.
either.
You could've
Especially when
told
they ask you to bring the wine.
Yeah. Oh, there's another
like, really?
couple. Oh.
Oh, I brought
Nice.
enough for me and you. I don't know who
I
these
don't
are.
like them. All right.
Yeah.
Party Peak. Gamer score leaderboard.
That is the one I might be interested in, yeah. So Gamer Score Leaderboard is where you can look at Gamer Score between you and your friends and see where you rank according to them
Again,
and compare achievements. And
be
all
a
that kind of
great
stuff.
real-life
That was
feature.
part of, part of 360, yeah. Because really it's about the competition.
Yeah. Life is.
Speaking of which, an important Xbox news, I did get the Diamond rocket launcher, or I guess it's not really an achievement, but a challenge, I guess, on Xbox, or on Black Ops 3. So my son has lost all respect for me because of that.
What?
Because it's a noob tube thing. And he's like, so you spent time
Trying to get.
and you got gold on all of the rockets and then thus achieved the diamond. Like you are.
He's just jealous.
No, he's not.
Apparently, Jason Cleanthus knows that too, because he just called you a noob tuber too. Noob tuber.
You've called me names today. Let me tell you one more story. This involves my son. So I got that Xbox controller, that awesome controller. He comes home from school one day, and I said, "Listen to me. You got to check this out." And I handed it to him. And I walked into the other room. I made some tea or whatever, blah blah blah. And so he played the game that I had just started online, like a multiplayer game. And so because he was in the middle of the game, I let him finish the game. He's like, "Yeah, this is really nice." And then he walked out of the room, and I sat down. And then you get it says the little things that you did in that game. And one of the things I did in that game that I didn't play, my son played, it said, "You just achieved the highest ever kill rate you've ever had." And so he just stood there with the controller, played one game, and wiped out 4 months of experience in one game. That's what he did to me. It's like malaria. You can get it anywhere.
Yeah, like Zika. Just let the twit bug bite you.
Yep.
But much better outcome.
It's
That's not good marketing.
I'm just not good at that kind of thing.
I was just gonna say, your brain will swell, but that's really not the.
No.
That's not the
Right.
message at all.
Nope.
So sorry. Have a wonderful week. I'm sorry to leave you with that message and that image in your mind. But think of it this way: you'll be glad when the show's back and you can forget it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly. Paul is not here. Where did we lose Mr. Thurrott?
Paul's wandering around New York City.
Well, that's not far. Can he just come
with
over?
his family.
Oh.
He's got his family. They're on vacation.
Vacation.
Vacation. Remember that thing? Vacation.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Good for him.
In fact, I just saw them for lunch.
Oh, good. Oh,
So
good.
they're doing well.
Well, you've got an excellent fill-in host. You want to introduce
Indeed.
Brad Sams?
Brad Sams filling in for Paul from Petri.
I think
and
everybody
Thurrott.com.
knows Brad's name, right?
They should know him.
Yeah.
I've been around for a while.
Executive editor. Formerly at NeoWin, now at Petri with Paul, and doing a great job on the new site.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Executive editor at Petri.com and Thurrott.com. So, where should we begin? You want to start with when? First of all,
I think we should start mobile.
let's first of all let's acknowledge that last week we maybe spent a little too much time on Android, and I take the blame on that. Mary Jo, are you still trying the?
I am.
What did he give you?
I'm testing out
5X?
the Nexus 5X. Still using it this week, people. So don't freak out when you see me post on Untapped using Android. Yeah, I'm still testing it, but I haven't not switched over to it. I'm still a Windows Phone user, just seeing what's out there just in case. That's it.
I don't think that you're being unfaithful to Windows.
No.
Microsoft apparently considers Android a legitimate platform because they make all their apps for it. And I think anybody who covers Microsoft should at least have familiarity with both iOS and Android because so much of Microsoft's on iOS and Android.
There's some great Microsoft apps on this phone. I've been really impressed, especially Microsoft Account, which is only on Android and not on Windows Phone.
Don't you love that?
Yep.
I think
the authentication
it
app.
lets you log in by just using the app instead of all the lengthy process I just went through a few minutes ago off the air of logging in with my password and an authenticator. It's instead of an authenticator, and it's a great solution. And I think there's probably a technical reason why it's not on Windows Phone, but I don't know. But
I don't know either.
I think that's the kind of thing it's not on iOS either, right? I think it's the kind of thing you can do on Android easily. Maybe, don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not on iOS.
Yeah.
Nope.
But yeah, I really like that. I've liked the quality of the Microsoft apps on Android. I'm happy I've gotten to try them out.
Although Brad and
So don't be haters, people.
Don't be haters. Brad and I agree that because I had to, I'm rebuilding my machine. My iMac died, but so I'm using OneNote on the iPad Pro. And Brad and I was like impressed. Brad said, you said it's like the best version of OneNote.
It's really one of those awkward conversations you have when you're talking about Microsoft, because if somebody comes to you and says, where are you going to get the best Microsoft mobile experience? As Mary Jo Foley is kind of hinting at, it's not necessarily on Windows Phone. And we see that because the apps come out generally on other platforms. And if you truly want to be on the leading edge of Microsoft apps, at least of what they're releasing, their garage apps. Fetch came out last week. It's always on iOS. And so you almost, not that they would ever admit it, but you kind of see this preference that they give, at least towards iOS on the early releases. But obviously Android gets them very quickly, and Windows Phone, hopefully, is kind of the conversation.
Someday, maybe, possibly.
Yep.
I just want to point out that somebody at Microsoft is using iOS. It's not just it's not just Mary Jo.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's.
No, their Office team. I mean, they use everything, right?
Yeah,
They have to.
of course they do.
They should, and they have to.
Yeah.
Office team, they're using a lot of iOS and Android, and if you haven't tried it, the Outlook app on Android and iOS is amazing.
I would wonder what would happen if you put out a bounty to take a photo of what phone Satya uses on every single day.
Oh,
what
that's
you would get in
interesting.
return.
Well, he says he uses Windows Phone.
I'd use a Lumia 1520. That just shows. In fact, that's what I use.
Yeah.
It just shows you how.
I'm sure he
professional I
uses a Windows Phone, but the way you see him talk about an iPhone makes you
Yeah.
just kind of wonder
Didn't
if
he
he's
say
a little.
though, when he was using that iPhone, I borrowed this. He made a point of saying
Right.
that, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Whether
he
that
had
was
been run through the PR gauntlet before.
This
going
isn't
on
mine.
stage.
Right.
But he
I'm
doesn't.
holding it for a friend.
He doesn't do what Steve Ballmer does, which is grab it from the somebody in the audience and stomp on it either. So
He's a realist, right? He knows.
Yeah, he has to be. He has to be
Yeah.
for the role that he is in.
So there is a new. We should say there is a new Windows Phone.
Right. We have Windows Phone news, people. Don't panic this week.
Unto us a Lumia is born.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a Lumia 650. It was quietly announced, and I say quietly because I think most of us, at least on this show, were sleeping when Microsoft actually pushed the announcement. It went very early, and I believe that's mostly because it's only going to be sold in Europe, and it is called the Lumia 650. And what drives me nuts about this phone, to go down that bent, is Microsoft is pitching this as a business phone. And it comes with a 5-inch 720p AM OLED display, 1.3 gigahertz Snapdragon, gig of RAM. And they pitch it as a business phone, primarily, I believe, because of the price. It's going to be roughly $199 US or less. But for a business phone, it does not support Continuum, and it doesn't support facial recognition or Windows Hello login.
Interesting.
Right.
You know, I've noticed that some business, like the BlackBerries, don't have fingerprint readers either, and I think that that's probably constraints of the the IT department in enterprises. Mary Jo, is that?
Yeah, that's true.
They don't want these alternative authentication systems. They maybe don't trust them.
The other interesting thing about this phone is that it's very much like the Lumia 830, where it has this metal band that goes around the exterior, and which is great. It's a entry-level phone, but then you look at the company's flagship, like the 950 here, and it's all plastic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you kind of get this mixed message that does this phone actually feel a little bit more premium than it is, which is great, but then you look at their flagship and it's a little bit inverse.
Yeah. I'm not a person who judges it by the plastic or the metal anymore, because I feel like you can put a nice case on the 950 and make it feel really premium.
Right.
I just like that it was light. That was my
Yeah.
biggest takeaway on the 950. After
see how
using
it
the
does,
icon.
though. I'll be curious to see how this one gets received by the market. Europe generally has a little bit better penetration rate with the OS. So
Right. This is
that's
Europe
obviously-
only, right?
Yeah.
Isn't
So far, that's
650
what they've
Europe
said.
only?
It's select European countries.
Right.
So I'll be curious to see what it actually does over there. I mean, I honestly hope it does well, and I hope it kind of gives them a little surge, but I'm not holding my breath too much on this one.
No.
Brad,
No.
I had heard that Tuesday I was going to get an update for the Surface Book that would fix all my woes.
So obviously Tuesday did not happen, but I did just get word that it is happening today. So
okay.
be on the lookout for that. Should
Now,
be
is
happening,
this
I
a
believe, today.
firmware upgrade, a hardware upgrade? What exactly is going to happen, do you know?
So there should be a firmware upgrade, and it should allow these sleeping beauties behind me to actually sleep and recover gracefully and not turn into portable thermos heaters. That is about all that I know that's supposed to fix that update, but we should hopefully be seeing that today. I'm pretty confident we're going to see it today.
So it's just, is it, because there's other issues that we've seen. I don't know how universal they are. But is it just the sleep, the hot bag, so-called hot bag issue?
The hot bag, the hot pocket.
Hashtag hot bag.
I don't have all the details of the firmware update, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, when it comes,
just
we'll know,
that,
right?
Yeah, it should be here in the next few hours. At least that's what I've been told. But the heat sleep issue should hopefully and finally be killed, and these things should be. You should be able to close the lid with confidence now, like you should have been able to in October. But here we are.
That's a good
We'll
slogan.
see.
I like that. Close the lid
is.
with confidence.
Do you know, Brad, have you heard it? Is this going to fix Surface Pro 3 sleep issues? Because some people are still having those also.
I unfortunately don't know. I know this is a
Okay.
Skylake related update. That's
Oh, is it? Okay. So
I
then
mean,
no.
that's the issue, right? The issue, I mean, I could go on and on about the issues that essentially this was Intel's fault, but Microsoft took the fall for it. The chips, depending on who you talk to, had a lot of issues. People weren't very happy with them, the quality and the features, obviously the sleep issue being one of them. And because Microsoft was first out of the gate with brand new hardware, we see Microsoft essentially taking the fall for what Intel conjured
But
up.
didn't other OEMs have, I mean, weren't they
Yeah,
able
other
to work?
OEMs have Skylake.
Yeah. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, but there
they're
are
not
some
having the
issues,
issues.
There's a couple, but
No, they're not having
kind of
them.
the key here is that the way that we know that there were some problems with Skylake is actually how Microsoft announced support for it for Windows 7 or Windows 10 on Skylake for business machines. Or sorry, was that Windows 7? Windows 7 on Skylake business machines. They're only supporting it for 18 months because of what they actually had to go back and do to enable that chipset to work well. And that came out, 2-3 weeks ago, maybe a little longer, where they announced and said, hey, OEM machines for businesses. With Skylake running Windows 7, we're only supporting them for 18 months.
Right.
And that's because of the additional workload they have to do. And from my understanding, that's not a kind of backdoor way to say, hey, upgrade to Windows 10, like knife in the back type thing. It's a legitimate reason that they had to dedicate more resources for this than they were anticipating. So we'll see. But anyways, Microsoft took the fall for Intel's Skylake debacle. At least that's my viewpoint of it. But you know what? Then they shouldn't have shipped the hardware if they knew it was going to be be bad.
Hey, you know what? All will be forgiven if it fixes it and it works. I really love my Surface Book, and even with these problems, I mean, I just keep it plugged in. But I still love it.
It's a great machine.
Yeah.
I use my Surface Book just about every day.
A little pricey would be the only negative as far as I'm concerned. But I mean, it's a beautiful machine. I love the screen. I love the form factor. I love the pen. Do you detach your screen ever, Brad?
So this is really a really interesting kind of funny question. So Paul and I were in New York together, was it 2 weeks ago? And so we're sitting across from each other, and there's some other people in the room, and Paul was joking. He's like, you know what, this should have just been a laptop. I never detached the screen. And then 10 minutes later, I had something on my screen I wanted to show people, and not even thinking about our prior conversation, I just popped the screen off and showed people, and they just passed it around the room, and I redocked it. And Paul looked at me and he said, you know what, maybe that does work. So I am probably 5% detached, 95% attached. But when you need it, it's convenient.
So from time to time, I do like to take a little time off. I hate missing shows, but the good news is I've got a great team back here in Petaluma that can back me up. And no one better than Father Robert Ballasare. He filled in while I was gallivanting about Europe. Actually, I think it was in Russia when they did this one. And is talking to Paul and Mary Jo about Microsoft's rogue chatbot, Tay. Watch.
All right. Let's go ahead and talk about what I personally always wanted, and that is an artificially intelligent bot. That's the kind of research I can get behind.
Chatbot, to be clear.
Yes. I think we've all been waiting for this. This is the big product from Microsoft that will redefine the company. They've created a way for a computer to talk to you and catfish you without you ever knowing it's not human.
And it sounds like some people got catfished today, in fact, who were talking to Tay.
Tay AI.
Yeah.
What division did this come out of? Is this a garage product that they made real, or is this an actual division of Microsoft?
It's a combination team, Microsoft Research with Bing, who created Tay.ai. And it's basically a bot that's helping Microsoft collect information about people who are in the 18 to 24-year-old group and how they treat social chat. So it feels like you're talking to a person. It's a bot. But they had a bunch of it's interesting who devised this. Some of the people inside Microsoft, plus some improvisational comedians. I guess who they brought in. And so they have this bot that has the personality of a teen girl who's talking to everyone today. It's kind of like what they did in China. And I forget how you pronounce this, XIAOLCE. There was another conversational bot that the Bing team built a couple of years ago. So kind of similar to that, where it's an experiment. Microsoft's just using it as a way to kind of work on their natural language understanding, and it's a fun little distraction. I think what's going to be interesting though is we've got a guy whose name is the Walking Cat, who we talk about a lot on the show, and he found earlier this week that Microsoft had built this bot framework. He thinks it's for developers. So I'm curious if they actually built this on top of that, or if Microsoft is going to have developers be able to build their own bots on top of that bot framework. And at Build, maybe they'll say, hey, look, we built this. You guys can build your own bots too. That would actually make this a little cooler, I think, if that's what that is.
So like Bing is like totally going to get totally chill, like a teen girl, be awesome, like, you know?
I have a hard time imagining that.
I'm not sure if I want to see the internet through the artificial eyes of a teenage girl. That sounds.
I know.
That there's something there that sounds fundamentally wrong.
Although I'll tell you, I'm already kind of liking Taylor because today she said about me, she ain't getting old. She is increasing in value, yo.
Wait,
Nice.
is that a quote?
That is a quote from the
No, that's
tape.
just the way Mary Jo speaks.
That's the way I talk. Yeah.
this is Valley Joe. It's a
Valley Joe.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, like totally. Well, I mean, look, I guess this is a good first step, right? I mean, conversational AI bots do lead to more, especially if you start combining this with some of the more recent advances in neural networking and deep learning. You can have a bot that actually learns from these very strange and creepy conversations.
Yeah.
Right.
At least Tay is honest up front and will tell you that she's a bot.
Yes.
Because they could totally flip a switch and make it incredibly weird.
Yep.
All right, let's wow. Wow.
See, look at that. Isn't that cool? I'm
Uh,
cool. Who knew?
huh. Okay. Yeah, I think we've crossed that uncanny valley.
We have.
Not only does Windows Weekly travel a lot, we were just in Toronto, we also spend some time in the Microsoft store. I think we were there twice this year, the Fifth Avenue, maybe 3 times, the Fifth Avenue Microsoft store. This was our first visit from July or August, I guess August of this year. Watch. Anybody else with a question?
Don't be shy. Come on up.
Come on up. I
Brad
see-
Sam.
Brad
let's see.
Sams is here. Does Brad Sams have a question?
Oh, let's see Brad Sams. That's good.
He just happened to be in town. He's wearing his shorts.
Nice Bermuda shorts,
Thanks
Brad.
Thanks for dressing, Brad.
And
You
an
have to
Apple
come-
Watch,
yes.
I might point out. I don't know what the Apple Watch is all about, but
He's got the same white band as Panos Panay.
I think it is.
It was actually my inspiration for today was the Panos band.
Nice.
So in light of Skype moving forward as the messaging platform of choice for Microsoft,
Yeah.
how do you think this is going to play out for them? Because Skype has a really negative connotation right now, and it's a struggling brand for the company. So
Yep.
this is the open-ended question that we kind of got the bombshell for this week. And where do you think they're going to head with Skype, and do you think they can actually recover by jamming more features into it?
what is the
Skype is the
bombshell?
Rio
What's the
Olympics
Wait a
of-
minute. What's the bombshell? I didn't hear a bombshell. What
But yeah,
bombshell?
we didn't really touch on that. But in the
Yeah.
new insider build in the fast ring that came out last night, Microsoft removed the messaging anywhere feature, and they said it won't be in the anniversary update, and instead they're going to be integrating that into Skype somehow.
Oy, so Skype messaging is the platform, the one and only, right?
Yeah. So
Yes.
you could kind of make this argument that Skype is the logical place for messaging to be at Microsoft because it's messaging.
Right.
But you could also make the argument you're making, which is that Skype is terrible and thus shouldn't be the center of anything.
Exactly.
But
You know, actually,
I-
I like Skype, but not for messaging. I mean, I think it's fine for what it is, video chat.
Yeah.
We're using it right now. We're getting a decent
I think
picture.
the-
I mean, it's good.
yeah, the issue is that as Microsoft has added features to Skype, they haven't always done it in a thoughtful way. So,
Right.
you get things like, you'll ping me on Skype and my browser window will ring because I've got OneDrive open. And there's no way to turn that off. And so they don't really think through those things. So hopefully, they said in a couple weeks we're going to learn more about this. We can only hope and pray and sacrifice a chicken or whatever we do to make sure that this thing works properly.
There was a tiny hint in something, I think it was last week, that Microsoft Power User had. They were in a Skype Insiders program, which I didn't even know existed.
Yep.
And they got an email from Microsoft that said something about redoing the infrastructure of Skype. And that, again,
They're going to
so-
go back to the messenger infrastructure.
Yeah, we don't really.
PDP when it works.
Right,
Yeah,
we don't
yeah,
know what
Peter.
this means. And I asked, and Microsoft said, oh, that was an email that only went out to the iOS users of Skype. And so it may not mean anything, but it might mean something about them doing some under the covers work to Skype to maybe make things better. I don't know.
And one last question. Does your Outlook.com account have the new...
Yes.
don't
I
either.
just checked it at the beginning of the show.
I
that
showed
question
him,
was
though.
coming.
I showed him.
I saw it. I
mine.
got to see it.
You've shown us the future, Mary?
Yeah,
I
it
did.
exists.
I
Does
did.
it work well?
It does.
That's fantastic.
You know,
Yeah,
you've been getting
it looks
a lot of
just
spam.
like this, right? No, I still have the old
No,
one.
but whenever you guys complain about getting a lot of spam in yours, I'm not getting it. So they're doing something right on my end.
Excuse me while I stare into your soul.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Brad.
So, Paul,
Cheers.
just to be clear, you still don't have it either?
No.
I don't. No.
else.
And it's kind of ticking down. Didn't they say this by this summer everyone would have it? August, I
If
believe?
it says, as I see here on mine, Outlook.com in the upper left-hand corner, that's the old
You don't have it.
You don't have it. You don't have it. So Windows Weekly, of course, is a great show because of Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, really two of the premier journalists covering Microsoft in all the world. I mean, they really know what's going on. But the other reason I enjoy doing this show is because they bring on great guests from time to time, and usually some pretty high-level folks from Microsoft. Well, take this episode. They were able to sit down with Donna Sakar. She is not only a programmer, an engineer at Microsoft, who, by the way, has her own fashion blog as well, which has the best name in the world. What is the name of her blog now? It's a little pun, a little programmer's pun. I think it's Fibonacci Sequins. Get it? Sequins, not sequence. Anyway, she's also in charge of the Windows Insider program, and it was really great to talk to her. Watch.
Can we make this as awkward as possible?
Donna, would you come up?
Oh my God, I'm so excited to meet her. Wow.
She's looking a little reticent, but she's coming.
She probably has to get permission.
Did you bring the Ninja Cat?
She's got a big bag, so something's in there.
There you go.
Uh-oh, the cat.
Is she bringing a cat?
Yeah.
So Chris
we-
Capicella is the CMO, right?
He is,
Chief
right?
Marketing
James
Officer.
Whitaker is the distinguished engineer. He showed up.
Wow.
We had Brian Roper.
Brian Roper, the man
Wow.
with the fedora. They all came to our meetup.
Yeah, it was
Oh
nice.
man, if you missed that, you missed a party.
Once again, dressed better than I am. Thanks.
Dressed better than everyone at the partnership.
Oh my God, look at that. Donna Sakar, gorgeous fashionista and engineer in charge of. By the way, we love your new office, Donna. Thanks for sharing that with us. Can you explain why? Oh, she can't hear me, can she?
Not yet. Can you?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's coming through the room.
So we made a big deal about the fact that you are facing the window, whereas the guy next to you is facing the door.
Brandon
LeBlanc.
Brandon is not smart to put his back to the door.
No.
Oh no,
She has her back to the door.
He is smart. No, you
You're
have
not
nothing to
afraid.
fear, but I understand why he would turn around.
People should be afraid of me. I'm not.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited you were here. We didn't know if you would come, and so we put a chair here, and just in case we had any luminaries in the talk that we could
Nice.
call up.
So can I start calling people up?
Yeah.
No, that's not how it works,
Oh,
Donna.
that's not how it works. It's not like a talk show. Like, I'm going to phone a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we want to ask you some things.
Of course they do.
Of course,
Of course
we
they
do.
do. Okay.
Well,
All right.
well, some easy things
All
like
right.
like what do you think of the partner show? Is it your first partner show?
This is my very first WPC. It's been absolutely amazing. I didn't actually know what happened at WPC before because as an engineer, they don't really let us talk to people. No, I'm lying. They do. They let us talk to customers, but generally, as an engineer in Windows, we don't engage heavily with the sales team or our partners. We leave that up to the sales team and the partners. But it's been pretty amazing to come here, and it all started at your meetup, actually. I got a chance to meet a lot of people who've been using Windows for a long time to run their businesses. So amongst the insiders community, I've met a lot of people who are consumers, so end users, students, people who are tech enthusiasts. But I haven't had a chance to meet a lot of people who use Windows to run a business or run large IT departments. So that's been pretty cool to hear about that.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much learning happens at this conference. There's so much learning. It's not just, here's what my company does and why you should care about it. It seems to be a lot more about, here's how to take sales to the cloud. Here's how to use social media to drive your sales up. Here's how to show leadership within your community. So that's been pretty amazing. I've been just hanging out in Community Hub, listening to people give talks, while triaging insider feedback all day, every day.
Yeah, and launching builds too.
Launching builds.
Nicely done.
We did a dinner last night.
Yeah, I
we
saw
had an
that.
We
insiders
know.
event. Yeah. So that was pretty.
I was in a state where I could not write about it at that time.
We picked a moment when we'd be at dinner.
Not technically
second glass of
traveling, but
whiskey. Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. And your talks, you gave 2 talks also, right?
I did give 2 talks, yes. So on Monday, I had my first talk. It's called Rules Are Other People's Opinion. And it was actually the story of me and the Windows Insiders, our first 41 days together. And a lot of people chimed in on Twitter and said, it's already been 41 days.
I know.
Yeah.
And others said, wait, you've been only doing this for 41 days?
It really has been a giant Gabe who kind of thing.
No. Oh, we love that man. Right. But it's been an incredible 41 days. I said in my talk, my life changed completely 41 days ago. I had no idea what I was getting into.
Yep.
It's been far more
Horrifying?
No, it's not horrifying. It's actually great. It's far better than I thought. Far better, because I think in my head I thought I'd be dealing with a lot more, I don't know, angst. But it's been very positive.
Yeah.
People have been very, very positive.
Sure.
And when people on Twitter or message boards or whatever are negative, it's incredible to see the insiders kind of swoop to our defense and say,
Sure.
no, this is what they mean, and here's what they're working on, and they're trying their best. So,
It helps you shipping something awesome, right? I mean, Windows 10 is so great. It's such a great thing to be on and be part of.
and they love it.
Yeah.
And, I said in my talk that community is all about building tribes. So it's not like I'm a community leader and I have a community of all these people who I engage with one-on-one. It's more like we are a tribe of people achieving something great together. And that something great is using Windows to lead, whether career and business goals. And that's my purpose. It was my purpose before I took this job. It's been my purpose for years, which is to help people achieve their career and business goals using tech. Because tech is this unique superpower. Those who understand it and can use it can lead in industries that are just ripe for transformation. So I've been kind of vetting these mission statements with the insiders for the last week. And I ask them, can we get behind this mission? Because it truly is our mission for our program. And I've been telling them for a month that for 41 days, you're all part of our team. And I mean that. I truly mean that they are part of our team. I have one of the biggest engineering teams on earth right now. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's more powerful than things that most companies do.
Can we get health benefits as part of this?
That's a very good question for this.
I have 2 questions for Donna. First of all, who are you wearing?
Who am I wearing?
Isn't that what you say when you meet somebody on the red carpet? Who are you wearing?
Who are you wearing?
This is not the podcast I signed up for, Leo.
It's gorgeous. I love it. No, I know you're a fashionista, so this.
This is a.
Wow.
This is by One Tito. It's
so cool. Look at it. It's so cool.
It's beads.
Wow.
So it's
What are the shoes? Because she had crazy
Are they
heels on.
Manolos? Are they? I mean, come on. Oh my golly gosh, those are combat shoes. You're entering into the release cycle shoes. Wow, those are awesome.
Yeah.
They're made by They're made by an architect named Charlene DeLuca.
They look architectural. All right, my other question is, what is N+1 testing? Build next, build next. What the heck?
What does that mean?
Are you guys not cool with pointers?
Oh, these are pointers.
Who's good with pointers?
Oh, it's pointer math.
Come on.
You're dereferencing next. I get it.
Yes. Come on. I'm sure all of you got it.
Actually, so when you tweeted that, we had a discussion
about what it meant.
Because the way the builds have gone during the Insider program is it's a build. It's the whole thing. It gets plopped down, things get reset.
That's right.
And I was wondering if by the time the anniversary update shipped public, if it couldn't just be a cumulative update of some kind instead of a full-blown. Was that what you were referring to?
So it's funny you talk about this because we've been doing a lot of internal stuff to try to figure out how we can ship builds faster, taking up less of a footprint in general, right?
Yeah.
Because that would help everybody. It would help us internally. It would help you guys. So we've been doing a lot of experiments and testing, and there's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming this fall. We've been saying, like, we may try to flight the flighting system.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool. Like, all right, we're going to rebuild the ship while we're on it, guys. It's gonna
So
be
sort of
great.
like a Delta update instead of a, carpet bombing.
We're going to try. We're going to try to do it. There are many ways to do it. So we're trying a lot of different things in-house to see, okay, what makes sense for PC versus phone, what makes sense for fast ring versus slow ring. But in terms of what we were working on last week was a little bit of that, but also we don't ship a build unless we know we can upgrade from that build to the next build without any issue. We will never ship a build like that because otherwise we'll leave you all in a build. You can't upgrade from it. So until the tests for upgrading to the next build across a variety of machines, configurations, internet connectivity works, we won't ship.
Gotcha.
So it's just us being cautious because we have gotten clobbered by things like this before. Like it is unupgradable. You have to clean, install.
Right.
I've done this to myself in Windows 7, so I remember this.
Yeah.
We try never to do this.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you also going to be responsible for introducing the anniversary update to Xbox? Like, is that part of your job as well?
Not right now.
No.
No.
Okay.
So for the anniversary update, August 2nd, it's going to start rolling out in waves. But just like anything that rolls out to millions of people, hundreds of millions of people, it's going to take some time. So we'll start with PC and phone, and it's going to, be a global rollout. It's going to take time. Everyone's going to freak out.
Yep.
Where's my update? Is it time yet? It didn't come. So it's going to take a little while to roll out to everybody. But Xbox and HoloLens, those come at different times since the end device is just separate.
Okay.
But I mean, in other words, the insider program for Windows and the preview program for Xbox are essentially going to be combined at some point, right? Is that post the anniversary update, I guess?
I wouldn't say combined. I would say we need to figure out what it means.
Yeah.
Right? Because Xbox has got an incredible community. They've got a fantastic ambassador program. They have an amazing preview program. Back in the beginning of Windows 10, I actually did a walkthrough with the Xbox team on how they handle the Xbox support Twitter page. So I don't know if you guys know, but it's a pretty magical thing where in Studio D, there's this humongous room, maybe like a quarter of this size, and there's a team sitting there at tables. And anytime someone logs an issue, on the Xbox support site, it says like we're here between 8 and 6 PST, something like that. So during those hours, the team sits there, and whenever someone tweets something at them, it pops up on a series of screens, and pops up on the first screen, and it's flagged as like sentiment, negative, positive. It does some sentiment analysis. And one of the people from the team say, I got it. And they grab it, just like a ticketing system. And these are engineers. So this is not customer support, this is engineering.
Right.
And everyone does this kind of tour. This is their job, because this is how you make the product better.
Yeah.
But they were hyper organized about it, where they said, we're going to handle this. And then that's why they have a response time of 7 minutes, because they in turn tackle every single one. They have a lot less traffic than we do.
Oh, yeah.
And their issues they're of a certain kind, right? Like my service is down, or I accidentally deleted my avatar. So their set of issues are complex, but they're not global 24 hours a day across all of these different device types. I think most of the questions that I get on Twitter are about the variety of device types,
Yeah,
right?
I have an Asus, blah, 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 whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or, my Dell tower from 9 years ago that I've upgraded to here and there. And I love that. That's something I love about Windows, that you don't need to be a 1%er to own a Windows PC.
Right.
You don't, right? So I'm an engineer at Microsoft, but I'm also an artist and a writer. And when I look at other artists and writers, and I have a lot of artist and writer friends, especially on the West Coast, there's this weird peer pressure that you've got to be making a lot of money. And I'm sorry, but you didn't get into art or become an author to make money, right?
We know.
I can confirm that, yeah. Having been both an artist and a writer, and you'll notice the way I'm dressed.
That's not why that's not why we got into this business, right? We get into those businesses because we can't not. You're a writer because the words will not leave you, because they possess you, and you have to write them down, or you'll drive yourself and other people around you insane. So it's the same with art. It lives within you. It's got to come out.
So where is your echo?
It's
Is it in your kitchen or living room or something, something like that?
It's in every room of the house.
Is it really?
There's one in front of me. There's one in the bedroom. There's one in the kitchen. There's one in my office. There's one in the gym. So that's only 5.
Couldn't you get like a little knapsack and carry one?
You can. They have a tap that you can carry it with you, but I don't want to do
Get a
that.
family pack from Amazon.
I wish I had, because now you know what? There's this Google thing, whatever it's Hello thing, is gonna.
Yeah.
Google's gonna do something similar, and I imagine a mantelpiece filled with 4 or 5 things, all of which have different names.
Exactly.
I think that's another thing. So, like, the Echo you'll tend to put maybe in your living room or your kitchen or your bedroom, which is not a place where you're sitting down at a desk or even sitting down with a laptop on your lap necessarily.
You'll find Thurrott at logicallyenoughthurrott.com. THURRO. THURROTT.
I agree. It's an excellent brand.
I need to make a song. THUROTTORRTTT. Thurrott.
No, then 3.
3. Thurrott.com. You'll also find his books at leanpub.com. Really, really, really got to get the field guide for Windows 10 before you go one step further. This is a must. I was just looking in my bookshelf because we're moving it. I have all of the books going back, I think, to Vista. I think I found the Vista book.
Wow.
So bought them all. And read none because
Leo, all I need is for you to buy them.
It's right. I've done my job.
If you want to,
you don't make people read them.
That's good.
No, it's reference. I think of it as reference material. It's great for reference.
SharePoint is kind of old school Microsoft. It's complex. It's hairy. It's got a lot of different stuff going on. I think Slack is just the new way of doing things, and I think it's for the ADD generation.
Somebody, Omega Project said, actually, it's not SharePoint. It's a great cell line.
It is.
It really is.
Slack. It's not
It's
SharePoint.
not SharePoint.
I'm not saying that SharePoint people are like broken inside or anything, but I sort of am saying that. I mean, no, it's just, it's just a, no, but it's like I said, it's old Microsoft. It's,
I've used Slack, and I've used HipChat, and I've used Yammer, and I've used Facebook's entry. Although Facebook at Work is going to be an interesting. Even Facebook at Work, which is much more complete than just a messaging platform, it says we're competing with Slack, or at least that's what the press's take on it was, right? Slack seems to be the thing to beat for some reason.
Slack is the industry darling, and I'm not sure it has the numbers or the capabilities to justify that, but it just kind of is.
I mean, there were rumors Microsoft was going to buy Slack not that long ago for, I think, $8 billion.
Yeah, $8 billion was what I heard.
And why didn't they?
Because
Nokia.
Gates, Nokia. That's a good one-word answer.
Yeah.
Gates and Nadella both, if you believe the rumors, said, you know what, we have this thing called Skype. And we could use Skype and kind of work with the technology inside of Skype to build the same capability that they have with Slack. So why should we buy them?
The operative word is could. They never did, but they could.
Yeah.
One thing somebody's in the chat room saying is one of the reasons people use Slack and HipChat is because strong Linux support as well as Mac and PC. And that's something Skype is just terrible on Linux. It's terrible.
Well, but they were trying to improve that.
They're doing the WebRTC wrapper now, which is their kind of alpha Skype for Linux, but it still doesn't do video.
They added it this week, video.
Oh, did they? Oh, it was broken for group chat. Then the WebRTC thing fixed that. Okay, so now they have video. All right.
Yeah.
Ironically, using a technology pioneered by Google, but
yeah.
Okay.
It's a little oversimplistic to say this, but a lot of this is about age. Like my nieces who are in their 20s, they never use email. If I email them, they never answer me.
Right.
They're
By the way,
like,
that's true.
You emailed us? So,
as you guys were.
I think you got to look at it.
Sorry.
Do your kids, Paul?
Kids?
Sorry?
No, they're too young to use Slack.
No, I mean, but do they ever use email?
No.
Oh, email. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. My kids do, but they're older, 22 and 24. But it's funny, the 24-year-old's more likely to use messaging, and the 22-year-old's much more likely, email, and the 22-year-old's much more likely to use messaging. And both of them probably prefer messaging over phone calls. So the hierarchy, I think you're right. I mean, messaging is number one with anybody under 21 for sure, right?
Yeah.
But
the other thing
that's because they're not doing any work.
Right. No, it's because they work differently.
Well,
right?
yeah, but they're not actually in the workforce.
Some of them aren't. Like my nieces are. Yeah, they are. And
at their work, see, I think it's a big mistake to take your workplace and cater to millennials. I think that's a recipe for disaster.
I think that's what a lot of companies are doing right now.
Man. Oh, these millennials are already entitled and annoying.
I also think it's a futures thing, right? Like, I'm speaking for myself here. We're kind of at the end of our work lives. I mean, I still have a lot of my work life left, but all these people are just coming into the work. Today is my last day. I didn't want to tell you guys.
You're witnessing the meltdown.
We all quit. Goodbye. No, but we're closer to the end than we are to the beginning. How about that?
We are.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're companies like Microsoft and other companies are saying, hey, we're going to be hiring a lot of people who are younger. This is what they're used to. They're used to messaging. They don't really like email. They don't want to use email.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to introduce Snapchat for Work.
Yeah.
Yep.
The new way of getting things done. I feel like this is these are all just ADD.
Yeah, I agree.
And catering to this.
We're accommodating our lessening attention spans.
Right.
And not just accommodating, but embracing them, know. And I worry about that kind of stuff in the same way that everyone worries about the next generation. But you have to kind of wonder with Skype, if Microsoft hasn't had that same missed opportunity that they had with mobile. They've had this incredible asset sitting here not working for years. And all around them, these smaller, faster companies have been creating messaging solutions, several of which have 1 billion users. And they owned this space. Like, this should have been theirs.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. They blew it. There's no reason Slack and all these other platforms should exist. Microsoft should just dominate.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with businesses, and I think this is where they're not. It's we talk a lot about Microsoft. It's kind of unfair to categorize the entire company as a single entity because it's so big and so diverse and all this stuff. But I sometimes worry that their Apple fixation, perhaps for several years, and their desire to half-ass their way into consumer space has gotten in the way of their real aim and has kind of impacted their ability to supply enterprise with the things that they need. When you give openings to these other solutions, that's a one-way street. I mean, once they go down that road, they're not coming back.
Well, this is the problem in general, right? There's this once you settle on something, you don't want to change every 6 weeks or every year even.
No.
So once you settle on something, I don't know, maybe work has changed, but when I arrived wet behind the ears at the Ziff Davis offices, they said, you're going to learn Lotus Notes and you're going to like it. And I never liked it, right? We all wanted to didn't we all want to use real email, normal email? Mm-hmm. But we had to use Lotus Notes.
Half of what they told you was true. You learned Lotus Notes.
You'll never like it.
Yeah.
Would it have been better if they had used email? I think probably, not, because they didn't have the controls that they needed, right? Mm-hmm. Not that Notes was very good.
No.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings.
Technology stinks. Why are we doing this?
Well, and we actually talk about this here because we use HipChat. Not, it was kind of ended up being the default. So, and everybody uses it, and we all like it, and we all know it now. And along come new technologies every week, it seems like. And I want to, I'm looking at this and I say, oh, let's do this now. This is great. This has more features, more of what we need. This will help us. And everybody says, yeah, no, we got HipChat. I don't want to, there's resistance once you learn it.
Yeah.
So the problem is millennials are going to be onto something new in 2 years, aren't they?
You could have finished that sentence earlier. The problem is millennials.
Well, I'm just saying, if you start, it's the tail wagging the dog. If you start catering to a fickle young workforce that really, frankly, doesn't have a lot of experience in the workplace, that way lies.
But you have
chaos.
to, right? They have expectations. They grew up in a different world than we did, and businesses want to attract these guys, of course. And yeah, this is. I mean,
it's an endless.
I fear for the future.
It's an endless cycle.
So
Though. We've
many
seen
levels.
this cycle all along. I mean, if I think about programming teams and so forth, there's a new fad. You know, there was design patterns, and there's agile, and there's all these new fads and new languages, and you can't get. I guess you can't get away from that if you're a technology-driven workplace.
Leo, this object-oriented programming thing is not going to last.
Oh, you know,
It's
by
not
the way.
future.
That's actually kind of what's starting to happen is people are moving away from that, saying, yeah, that was a promise that didn't live up to its potential. Now we're back to functional programming.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. All right.
I like my programming languages all caps.
Yeah. give me tabs and parentheses. Please don't get mad at me, but I'm sitting here looking at a PlayStation 4 Pro thinking, should I buy this and PlayStation VR? And I just got the 1S. But I have a 4K TV, but they don't have a UHD drive in the Sony, oddly enough. They have a Blu-ray drive in it, and I have the UHD in my Xbox One S, but I don't have 4K gaming. I've decided to wait for the Scorpio.
Interesting.
I am still
I think
in.
The one pull the PlayStation has is that VR stuff, and I wish Microsoft would kind of figure that out. Although there's a good chance it will follow what they're doing on Windows 10, right, where you have a variety of solutions, and maybe they'll be at
What about an
different
AR?
price points.
What about a HoloLens?
Yeah, I haven't said anything about that yet, but you would think, that would hopefully be part of it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna hang in there. Is that the end of the line for the Xbox, or is?
Well, I mean, we can't say. But
we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
15 years. It's been a great 15 years. It's just turning into a teenager. And
how many achievement points do you have now, Mary Jo?
Do you mean on tap badges?
Yeah, okay.
She's quick.
Those are my achievements.
She's quick.
Those are my achievements.
Just killing me on Untapped.
No, but you're catching up this trip.
Just killing me.
Sort of.
It's embarrassing.
This one I wanted to set up for you a little bit because this was a couple of months ago. Paul and Mary Jo went to Holland, went to Amsterdam for a big conference, and they were able to get a demo of the HoloLens at a company where they developed for the HoloLens. And I think we're joining it are we joining it already in progress, or is Mary Jo already wearing it? Okay, I wanted to explain this. She's already put the HoloLens on. I think this might be the best demo of the HoloLens yet. And believe it or not, they're using Skype to send us back the HoloLens signal. Watch. So that's Mary Jo's view.
Yep.
What? So now we can see the audience. Hey, everybody.
Right.
Hey.
Settle.
All right. So that gray box that I'm seeing, that's actually the
No.
That gray box is just a menu just floating around above the audience that's been left around. People play with the HoloLens and they leave all virtual.
But it's not real. It's part of the hologram projection because from what I'm seeing, it looks like there actually could be a gray box in the audience.
This thing.
Exactly.
My hand goes through.
Oh, that's wild.
Screen that she can close.
Okay.
Actually, if she looks more onto the floor right in front of her, there, and maybe she backs up a little bit, there should be a tiger around there. It's a little difficult. This is the funny thing. If I walk with this device through the... There it is. So we can see this. Obviously, she's the only one that's able to see this.
Right.
And she can walk around where she faces the front of the tiger.
This is wild.
And this is just a simple demonstration of having virtual objects throughout your room.
But what about? Wait a minute. This is not. Where's the mail slot thing? This is a full screen view. Is that a different thing than Mary Jo's seeing?
Yeah. Right. So maybe Mary. Well, we can't hear her, but. Yeah, so what Mary Jo sees is a holographic
3D projection of this.
Yeah, so we're seeing it, the full effect. She is seeing it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we can't really hear her, unfortunately.
And we have to.
Sorry. So what she was saying is she's seeing something roughly. I think
she doesn't see, but does she see a full picture of the rest of the room and just the hologram is? Yeah.
No,
so
it's not virtual reality. She sees the room. It's just like glasses, but there's something projected within the room.
And the tiger is only within a smaller field on the overall view.
That's correct.
Got it.
And if she looks a little bit more into to the distance, there should be a ballerina
there.
Yeah, and
This place is haunted.
Yeah,
This
it
is
is.
actually fascinating.
And actually, when you click on it,
She's gonna click
this
on it.
is always an interesting.
How do you click
thing.
with your hand?
That she's
Yeah,
going to attack.
so it's you put up your finger and then you click.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and I think this is going to work.
She's not
And
going
now
to.
she's
What the
actually-
what?
Yeah,
Oh, she disappeared.
and now suddenly she's gone. What did you do? No.
Get the Ouija board out. We'll get her back.
What? This is
Maybe
wild.
walk up to it and.
So when she moves her head, the ballerina will move in and out of that mail slot. She'll disappear as her field of view changes. But as long as she's looking at that ballerina in that particular area of the view, she'll be
There's no
there.
way to actually display the
Yeah, no, I
limit of what she
understand.
sees right through
It's but if you think of a kind of a
we can't see her.
rectangle, like a mail slot,
This is what
superimposed.
she-
No, I know, but she has a limit. Her,
a limited view.
Yeah,
no,
but we can't
no.
show that.
No, because there's actually a camera right in front of.
We're seeing a
her.
live feed from the camera.
Yeah, so
basically.
it's not what she sees through her eyes. It's just a camera right above her.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is
I see a shark
projecting.
floating in the audience.
Exactly. Yeah.
Guys, watch out!
Maybe you can walk up to the shark.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Wow. And then she's wandering around.
She's untethered, Leo.
She's that's the other thing that's cool. She can just wander around in this.
Yes, and they're like we said, the whole church here is full of junk that people left, virtual junk that
These people
left.
have no idea how much danger they're in.
And a little bit more to the right, a little bit up to the right, you will see a satellite, I believe. And so there's all kinds of other things floating around, and obviously these are not useful things. This is fun. This is fun for the kids, and they love it.
Right.
They asked one for Christmas, so I had to disappointment a little bit. We've got an astronaut.
Yeah.
You can click the astronaut too, actually, and it will start waving at you.
So it's a video, in effect.
It's a virtual video and you can walk all around it. It's a 3D video, so obviously we can only see it through as in a 2D motion.
But she can move around it. Yeah.
Yeah, she can move it around and then see it from all different sides.
Yeah.
Right. It's not one of those old video games where these things were actually flat textures. It's a 3D object in space. Well, projected as if in space, I guess.
Yeah. So this is there's a little bird right on the table, actually, maybe.
That's funny.
So this is just a fun bit, and obviously this is not for businesses something they would generally use, I think. But we built some other applications which are also publicly in the store at this moment. One of them is AMS Holo ATC, which is a demonstration app that we build. If you want to read about it on a blog, go to local Joost. He wrote all about the building process of the application. And what you will see is Schiphol Airport here is the major hub airport, and we see live data of all the aircrafts flying around.
This is what you demoed earlier.
Yeah, this is what
so we can't show them this app.
We can actually show you that.
So while she's you'll have to help her get it set up.
Mary
So
Jo, go
it's sort of
stand behind the guys because I want to see you.
Yeah. What it is it's a live view of the airport. You see the conning tower.
So if you
and
go
the
into
planes
the
that
menu,
are in the air where they're supposed to be holographically.
And go to the plus
That was
sign.
a good view there. We just set up. Yeah, there you go.
Is this the Windows holographic interface that we're looking at?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
This is the menu, and then we go to AMS logo. And now we start up one of the screens. And
that's crazy, huh?
What do you? I'll ask Mary Jo afterwards, but
yeah.
So screen's loading, made with Unity, personal edition,
it's
just
made with
floating
Unity,
in the air. It's just floating in the air. That's so amazing.
So within a couple seconds, we'll have a view of the map of Schiphol Airport. We'll see a little church. It's
So it's
actually
right
located right on top of us, and that little church is the exact same spot where we are at this moment.
So she moves closer, it gets bigger. Within the limits of the frame in her view. right?
Yes.
So then at some point it would clip it.
But
It would go
wait,
outside the
look
range.
above my head, you can see a plane coming in.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just a wide little, and she can move up closer to it, and we'll see what type of airplane it is.
Let me get out of the way so I don't hurt it.
So, no, and if you come on close, you can.
Oh, yeah, there's
maybe,
a little above it. There's the...
Yeah, so the image quality is much clearer what she sees instead of what.
Can you see the little people on the plane?
I can. They're screaming.
Right. Sorry about
They're
that.
terrified right now.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So we can
really
see
neat.
the trail lines of the airplanes. We can see which airplane they are, which it
you
is.
can see another one coming in. So it's sort of like almost like a landing pattern.
If you look a little bit up, you see one just going up really high. You can follow the trail lines.
Oh, yeah.
It's just.
So is this real-time data or is this canned?
This is real-time data.
Holy cow.
Since we're really near Schiphol Airport, we can actually look at the glasses and then hear them coming over.
Right.
Oh
They
my
can look
God.
out the window, and see the same planes.
Oh my God! This is the future of UI. You totally can see that. I mean,
that's crazy.
Yeah, and we can interact with this. We can show the same data on a Surface Hub, and then have an 84-inch TV screen, interact with that data, see these 3D images on a 2D screen, but also use Power BI, for example, make some analytics behind it, and interact with that data, and we can show that live on the HoloLens again. Right. Or we have people that walk in the field, have their cell phone, select one of the airplanes, and interact with the holographic environment. And this shows basically that all types of different devices can interact and make you see and experience something that we all experience normally in 3D too. And this can make better decisions.
Right.
Especially in critical, fast decision making.
Do you see maybe air traffic controllers maybe even using something like this?
I would love to talk to these guys and show this, because we can do all kinds of things with this. Make a cone around the airplane, so if they come too close, it's like you can actually see it instead of having a 2D radar
image.
Where
it's just so they could be anywhere in space. Right.
And maybe put some weather data in there, like wind speed and that sort of thing. Think of it, and we can basically put it in there and show it and make live decisions. Instead of having to interpret all that 2D data, make it in our head into a 3D model, which is a great thing to do. But if awesome. I would give a child this, they would be able to steer the planes, or it shows like, hey, they're too close. There's no learning curve there.
Right. Yep.
That is so cool.
It's crashing. Come on, Doug.
But she's not controlling it. But you could see. I mean, there are all sorts of things that could applications for this. This is really amazing.
And this is air traffic, but police, military, anything.
One of the other demos you have is the Minecraft version of Amsterdam, which is awesome. And you could kind of see how that might be used to. You were talking about emergency services as an example, where you could see where ambulances or firemen or policemen were exactly in the city at any given time.
Yeah, and the Minecraft done application is built by Geodan, another company we work together closely with, and we have. The whole Netherlands in Minecraft.
Yeah,
and
it's 1-to-1, Leo. So it's actually literally the size of the Netherlands.
So you can walk through.
It's a long walk. Yeah.
Yep.
So actually, you can see one of the monuments within the Netherlands. So maybe we can show it by going in.
This is so much in our future. I mean, I really see the value of it. Oh, there's the gesture, huh?
This is the thing. We need to clean up our screens. Remove them first before we open something else.
So
it's funny because you can
it's
see her
kind of
hand.
like an Italian hand gesture.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If I had a meeting where multiple people were and some Italians, I had to explain first what I was going to do.
Not saying anything about your parentage.
So yeah.
So again, the Windows holographic interface. I wish we had some way of superimposing the letter box that she's seeing, because this is much like the Microsoft demos on the stage, where you're seeing a full frame as if this stuff is superimposed on your full field of view, and you still have the full field of view, but the box, the controls, the things that are going on are inside a smaller clipped rectangle, roughly that size. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
probably.
Is it? I mean,
We can ask Mary. So, Mary Jo, when you brought up that window, is it fair to say that you could see that window in its entirety? Yeah.
okay. Well, that's pretty big. I mean, that's a good chunk of the view.
I mean, you have to imagine you wearing glasses. You know, if I look underneath my glasses or on top of my glasses, I don't see sharp.
Paul, you've turned into a voxel.
I'm a mountain inside Amsterdam now.
Yeah, it's difficult to see. Apparently,
'cause my
it's go
screen's
right
away.
in front of it. But, this basically shows a bit of Amsterdam.
Cool.
Right. Is this the same one we saw before?
Yes.
Is
So
this,
this is
a
Dam Square.
Rijksmuseum here or Rijksmuseum?
No, this is the Royal Palace, right?
Royal
It
Palace.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and this is an early beta
Right.
version. And imagine that you can put data on here too. This is just a static view, and there are some cars driving, but this is just fake.
This is
but if-
Westworld, Leo.
Yeah.
Well, you can see in a few decades it is Westworld. I mean,
Right. Exactly.
what this is, you're seeing folks watching this at home, and I know most people listen, but I hope at some point you'll get to see the video of this. It doesn't take much imagination to take this from, Pitfall on the Atari 2600 to modern to Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and you can see, and that was what 20, 30 years. You can see this, how this will evolve. That's just remarkable.
Yeah,
That's
it's
remarkable.
amazing.
Yeah. So these are the those colors are the ones that are scanned but aren't made into a nice view, because when they put in the data,
they prettied up the square basically.
Yeah, and there's a community of students and anybody that wants to, that can claim a bit of their own street and then
That's
clean
awesome.
it up and make it into something that looks more exact. Yeah. Do
Don't
be aware
trip.
where you walk.
Yep.
Yeah,
there you go. There's the square right there.
So there's other scenarios that we can do is where you have an engineer, for example, that needs to fix something, and you can always send your specialist everywhere. But what if you have a general engineer and you want to help them remotely? They can watch like you are watching now the screen, and they can interact with your 3D world, but also put up a model of the piece of equipment you try to fix, and show this is the screw you need to unscrew, and if you do that, this thing falls out, so be aware. And it could direct you to that same screw, and there's different applications we've built that way to interact with each other. So the specialist is somewhere in a different country, a different state, helping you, guide you.
They don't have to physically go there. Yeah.
And that saves a lot of travel. And then you have maybe less specialists in a central location and have your generalists all around the world. That could save money. And so there's a lot of
amazing
scenarios around that too.
Mary Jo, did you not want to take it off, or were you kind of done by the time you?
I liked it. I thought it was kind of cool.
You didn't get nauseous or anything, or
no. And I've worn those glasses a couple times for demos, and today was the first day it didn't hurt my head.
Did you wear them over your spectacles?
Yeah, I wore them over my glasses. And the trick seems to be to tighten the band around your head and not make it just like rest on top of your glasses.
Yeah, because there's two parts.
Yeah,
right?
there's two parts.
So the band on your head is not the same as the part that comes down, the visor part.
It was good.
Yeah, there you go.
How hard was it to?
We're going to show you the band in the back.
You can see there's two. Right. So this part goes over your head, and you can tighten it here.
Yeah.
And then you just basically swivel the visor part up or down.
Yep.
Am I wasting energy talking about the limited field of view versus the full field of view that we see on the Skype? Does it, from your point of view, Mary Jo, as a user, is it not an issue?
I think you get accustomed to it pretty quick.
Yeah. That's what he had said earlier.
Yeah.
We stepped through some of these demos earlier, and he was saying that, if you've seen those videos where it's the full frame and you put this thing on, you think, oh, it's really limited.
Yeah.
But then, the central amazing thing about HoloLens, of course, is the way that the 3D objects connect with reality. Mm-hmm. And so if you have a hologram that's sitting on a table and you move around the table in any way, it really roots itself to that surface, and it's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And I think I
didn't feel dizzy. for sure.
No, but I mean, I think if you perceive that field of view as a limitation at first, over time, what's happening is so amazing.
And the more you back up, like we've said before, you see bigger. But, you know, when Microsoft does the demos, it's special cameras, and they're showing an embellished video.
This was a Skype camera. I mean,
this was the real one. Like what you just saw is exactly what I just saw.
This is how they did the moon landing, Leo.
Well, but it is and it isn't, though, Mary Jo, right? Because we don't get the sense of clipping that you're getting.
Feel that. Yeah.
Because you're getting a clip.
I mean, in other words, she means if you're looking at the boxes.
Oh, I see.
You're probably maybe not seeing the top.
No, you're not. You have to raise and lower your head and turn.
And it's not disconcerting. It's not.
No, you just kind of get used to it pretty quick. Yeah.
That's really. That's exciting. I feel like we're seeing, even more so than VR, we're seeing a glimpse at the future with this.
Right. That's great. It's really impressive.
Yep.
Well, neat. Any? I'm just trying to get a sense from of Mary Jo's experience. How hard was it to use? I noticed you have some gesture issues. Tricky.
That gesture is hard.
Yeah.
That you're supposed to do this or this.
What is that called? This it's just selection.
The click.
Click. Yeah.
It's a little easier if you do that, but I know Microsoft has a peripheral that's a clicker. That I think I would like. Being a mouse person, I think I would like.
Yeah, so you could hold something in your hand that you could point and move.
It seems like you really have to have your arm. Is it better to have your arm out?
You have to have your.
Directly?
You have to be like in the vision of the camera, right?
So there were a couple of times we could see it. Your hand enters into the frame.
Yeah, it's that's a little tricky. I think that's the thing that would take me the longest to get used to.
Okay.
The bloom, no, that's easy.
Because you've been doing that your whole life.
My whole life.
Don't want to say what that means, but
I know. And then I could see if you were doing a lot of that, you'd get kind of tired. Like,
a clicker, I think, would be helpful.
The clicker would be good.
Yeah. I'm so jealous. I want to try it. I'm so jealous you got to spend all that time playing with it.
Come on over.
Come to Amsterdam, Leo.
That's another reason to be jealous. It feels to me like because you do have to compromise in order to make this thing as portable as it is. And I know ultimately that is certainly one of the most useful form factors. But it feels to me like they could offer this for even $800 and $900 on the Scorpio next year using all the processing power tethered. And it would be a very interesting, compelling experience because you can do a lot of this without moving around.
Yeah, you could.
I mean, minimal movement, you know.
Yeah.
Yep. Call of Duty, Leo. It's the future.
Well, wouldn't that be interesting, Paul? I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, you'd have to rethink games because Call of Duty, you want to see everything.
I'd have to actually be in shape, Leo. I'd have to like run and jump the walls, like go to actual war.
Well, I think, for instance, there's a really great mobile game called Run Zombies Run for runners, and you put on your headphones and you're running, but you're listening. It's like you're listening to music, except you're not. You're listening to almost a radio drama, but it's audio only. But you're in it. It says, "Oh, there's zombies up there. You better turn around and go back the other way." And you're immersed in this. It takes your mind off the running, and you're in a game. Imagine, I mean, if you could actually see them, and you're in. Now, I guess there'd be some risk of running into the road, but. You're still seeing, unlike VR, you're seeing the road. I mean, it's not like you're,
right.
Yeah.
So moving around, did you feel it all difficult? You knew where you were in space, right?
Yeah, right. The only difficulty was me not tripping on all the cords. But
she has had a couple of beers. So.
I've had a couple of beers, and I'm always somebody who falls down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Not because of beer, just in general.
Right.
But yeah, no, it was really easy to move around. It wasn't disorienting. I could see leaving that headset on longer than I always thought I could previously.
Yeah, that's another question, right? VR, you get tired after a while.
No, it was like resting on my forehead and not on my bridge of my nose or my glasses, so that was good. Because if it's resting there, it would be very tiring.
Yeah,
it was light.
Rick said 3 hours was kind of the
It didn't hurt my neck or anything. I could see doing that for a while. It would be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you'll build up neck muscles.
Right, your neck will get some neck muscles.
Walking around.
You'll have like this corded neck. You know?
What have you been doing? Well, I work in an office, but I have to wear a HoloLens all day. It's not that heavy, though.
Your one arm is really strong.
No, it's not heavy.
Yeah.
No, not heavy.
See, like something like the HTC Vive is heavy, and it's sweaty, and after a while, and it's nauseating. So
Yeah, no.
after a while,
the triple threat.
it's really not, you go, okay,
Yeah.
I'm done. And then, and I'm curious about this, there's something that we don't talk a lot about after you use a virtual reality headgear or in a simulated environment called simulator sickness, which is afterwards you're disoriented. Do you experience that with the HoloLens? I would guess not.
I didn't.
You didn't take it off and go, where am I? Because you never left.
Right.
If I shake you a little bit, is it weird?
So
And you know the thing, I get motion sick at the drop of a hat. Like
Right.
I can't even ride a Ferris wheel without getting ill. So this is a good test.
Right. We should do a hologram Ferris wheel and see how you're doing that.
Ooh, you might not like the results. But yeah, it felt the most comfortable of any of the 3 times I've tried this.
Yeah. But it's the same model, right? It's just that you're getting used to learning how to wear it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this time we had someone who knew what they were talking about.
Yeah.
Is there audio? Is there audio in that or no?
Yeah, I could hear audio.
Yeah, it's positional audio, right? So
Yeah.
the idea being that if, in the case of those planes, if they're pinging or whatever, that as you move around, it will always be in the correct place in space.
Like when the blocks were falling, I could hear them going like blip, blip.
Really?
Blip,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I just thank our friends at Wartel for. I can't believe we were just able to do a HoloLens demo in real
Can't
time
either.
on
Yeah.
Skype.
I know. That was
Yep.
pretty amazing.
That
I think we
was-
should have some applause for that.
Yeah.
We'll see what those
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see what those guys on Mac Break Weekly do today.
Yeah,
Jeez.
what are those applicators going to
Actually,
do?
we'll be looking at the new Touch Bar
Yeah.
MacBook Pro because I happen to have one right here. So
Dude,
maybe.
imagine if you could touch the whole screen, Leo.
You know, the thing we talked about at the start of the show, Cobalt is the code name
Yeah.
for the x86 thing. So somebody said to me, oh, Cobalt is something from Minecraft. So I put that in the original story, and then suddenly all the Minecraft people were like, no, Cobalt's not in Minecraft. It's in the Nether. It's in the Nether.
You have to go to the Nether to get to Cobalt.
I'm like, I don't even know what that
You,
means.
you
Does it
really,
mean it's
Mary
in
Jo, I think you really don't
At
understand
the latest
very
meeting
much
of the
about
guild, we discussed this very topic.
Yes,
and
I can't believe
know.
you even thought that. I just,
that is exactly what I got.
Mary Jo's not a real tech person. I don't understand.
You know, my favorite one, which I get all the time, is you're not a gamer. You're not a gamer. And I don't know. I guess the definition of gamer is
you don't obsessively play the game I play. So
yeah,
you're
by the
not
way,
a
I get
gamer.
the same thing, and I'll
you're
respond
clearly
with,
a gamer.
I pay
Yeah, you-
200 hours of Call of Duty every week, and they're like, yeah, but you play Call of Duty.
It's not a game. I'm sorry.
Call of Duty's a game.
It's not a game. I think you're mistaken.
You're right. It's a
mistaken.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I found out? This is you'll both be interested, and you may know this already. Cobalt is another game that Mojang published,
Oh,
and that seems to be where the code name comes from. Not the
Really?
Nether, but
The
this other
Cobalt
game.
comes from the Nether. It's part of the Nether region.
Yeah, what is the Nether? What is that?
So
what does
in,
it even
in Minecraft, you have 3 different worlds. Okay, you have your
Okay.
basic, your above land world. That's good. You can get that. You can get clay. You can get coal. You can get sand. You can get gold. But you can't
Redstone?
get redstone's very popular. But you have to if you want. There's 2 other worlds. There's the Nether and the End,
Okay.
and you have to
Good
go
to
to
know.
the Nether to get the cobalt.
You know who I asked to get the final word was
Your
OMG
12-year-old
Chad.
nephew. Oh, Chad would know. Yeah.
I'm
He's-
like, Chad.
He's
what's the
all
word?
our 12-year-old nephew. Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just another land.
Okay, good to know. Now I know. Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
actually haven't played that much Minecraft lately. I'm going back to Skyrim because they released a HD version of Skyrim for the Xbox One, and I'm back and fighting dragons. It's so much fun.
Nice.
Love
Dragon's
that game.
breath, getting your potions going.
Yeah, no, you don't have dragons, but you would know that if you were a gamer. Clearly, you're not a gamer.
Boy.
Woohoo! Nice to see you, fellas, and you probably noticed that I have something rather massive sitting in front of me.
Look
It's
at
the
that.
new
big one.
iPad Pro. Oh, wait.
It really, it's so funny. This is the Surface Studio, which came on Monday. And it's hard not to love this. It is like an iPad, a giant iPad,
Right.
28-inch iPad. Even for me, and I'm not an artist, this kind of 20-degree angle and just doing this stuff is really comfortable and natural. and fun.
Nice.
I'm really happy with it. The knob, the dial, is useful. I can use it to scroll. I need more dial apps, obviously, and those will be forthcoming. I can change it from scroll to sound, like a volume knob, to zoom, or to undo. That's kind of the default. Once you pair it, you have to pair it. It's kind of interesting. This has just a little magnetic bottom on it. It's very easy to pull off, and there's the pairing button. 2 AA batteries. The knob is a little bit of a gimmick, but then I put an artist, Svetlana, Patrick Delahanty's wife, who's a children's book artist, down to draw, and I gave her the pen in one hand and as Microsoft said, the undo in the other, or the palette, and it came very naturally. It is a very natural way to work. So I think the dial is really interesting. I kind of feel like it is. There's a lot of potential in this. And
I think the dial makes the pen make sense for people who draw or paint. Right?
It does, and even just for. Now, if you buy a Surface, and the dial is an extra $100, so that you probably should play with it before you decide whether you need it or not. But I came with mine, and I'm kind of glad. I mean, I really like it. It's really, really cool. I have OneNote here. I have a browser here. The pinch and zoom is really natural, and for what I'm using it for, which is showing stuff on the screen, it couldn't be better. I mean, it really is. It's really incredible. So, but I'll tell you the negatives on this, which is this is very expensive for what you get, and this is the base level. Surface Studio, which is $3,000, and it's underpowered. I hate to say it, but when I'll launch up Lightroom, and we'll go from picture to picture, and there's a palpable, more than palpable,
a
significant
I don't understand,
delay.
Right? It's I think many people have said this. You're basically paying for the screen.
Yeah, that's
the rest
clear.
Of it is,
That's clear. Yeah. If I'm in the unzoomed mode, I can go pretty quickly. But the minute I go full screen, which you're often going to do, and now I press the arrow key to go to the next picture: 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005.
Yikes.
5 seconds between pictures.
Yikes.
It's unusable.
Yeah.
At least in full screen mode. Now that may be a flaw in Lightroom, and because it's interesting, it's much snappier. Although notice it has to load the high res. These are 30 megapixel images. So part of it is it has 8 gigs of RAM. It's an i5 processor, and it's a hybrid drive. It's one of those Intel hybrids with a 64 gig SSD and a terabyte spinning drive, which I think could make it a lot faster. But then, so I'm looking, and I came within inches of buying another one for home, but I thought, well, I'll get the top of the line, which is the i7 32 gigs. It's $4,200.
Yikes! Most vehicles I've purchased have not cost that much.
Yeah. Now I have to say, it gave me some. There's some things I thought about. If the real problem is, if you look under it, it is this whole computer is in this little tiny. Really less than laptop sized, almost Nux sized base.
Mac Mini sized.
Yeah, it's a little bigger. That's a Mac Mini, so it's about 4 inches bigger. But they've jammed it all in there. And by the way, that's why, for instance, it has a mobile GPU, not a desktop GPU. Right. So what I would love Microsoft to do, and Chris Capicella, I know you're listening. I would spend $2,000 on this screen and base alone.
Yep.
Let me hook up my own computer to it.
Everybody's asking for that.
Are they?
So far,
I would
they're
pay
saying
$1,000 for that screen without touch.
Yeah.
I just want a 3x2 4K display.
It's 4K, it's P3, it's full color gamut as well as sRGB. It's beautiful and very usable, and you would want touch. Trust me, Paul. I mean, you really would want touch. But what I also want, oops, that's not it. Let me go this. There. What I also want is a faster CPU. And now it's fine. This is kind of fine for just kind of but for $3,000, it should be more than fine for casual use.
It's very specifically designed for creators. Who else would spend $3,000 to $4,000?
Well,
on
you
a
saw
computer?
the problem right away when I went to Lightroom.
Yeah.
I mean, a photographer is going to say, "I can't use this." Frankly, 5 seconds between shots, I can't use this. Although they sure look great, don't they, in full screen?
Yep.
I mean, but the sluggishness of the UI. But look at that. I mean, that's stunning. And I can, but you see how slow it is zooming in. I mean, it's not. I can barely drag it around. Some of my employees really need to work on their respect. I'm just saying.
Yep.
That's our Christmas. No, this is the funny face version. I love it. Well, so we took these pictures yesterday for our Christmas card, and I fired it up in Lightroom, hoping to do some editing. And no, I put it on a different computer for that because too slow, unusable. That's not good for a $3,000 computer.
Yep.
On the other hand, I don't care because I love it so damn much. This thing is that, and in every respect, this is their first desktop. This is a home run. So they say they won't sell the Pixel Sense display by itself.
Yep. So far, that's what they're saying.
Yep.
I think that's a huge error. Maybe because it would be 3,000. Maybe it's like it would. Well, this is 3,000 with the i5 8 gigs and 2 gigs. 1 terabyte drive. So. What's that worth? $600, $700? So maybe they're saying, look, it's a $2,500 display. We can't. But I would buy it and put it on a really. Imagine if this were connected to a super fast computer. So this is the drawing Svet did on here, which is beautiful.
It is amazing. Yeah.
She played with it. This is Photoshop. So let's do File, New. And the pen solves that touch target issue, right? So I feel like that's not, these are, because this is a desktop app. So, all of this stuff is little tiny stuff. And you could.
That can scale, actually, Leo.
Can it make it bigger? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it would be enabled by default, but there's I don't even know. I don't use CC, so I don't know where it is. But you can scale that for the high detail.
All right. And we know that Adobe is going to absolutely modify this to
and they're testing a universal Windows platform app right now as well. That probably targets this kind of product.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's just very natural. And then the undo. I don't know. Maybe this does not work with it. I thought she was. Oh yeah, she does. So now I can, if I set this to undo, and I do a few things. You turn the knob, and it goes back through history.
Yeah, I think they call it instant replay or something like that.
It's very much like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a scrubber for the stuff you've done.
Yeah. That really is really cool. Really cool. So it's funny because, the touch bar on the MacBook Pro I've kind of rejected as a gimmick. It just doesn't help me. This dial, which potentially is also a gimmick, I can really see how it gives you a two-handed use.
Exactly. I think, and that's the thing. It's Mary Jo and I, we don't really need that. But for people like you using this with a pen, drawing, painting, whatever, the ability to, select different brush styles or colors or whatever, like with one hand, and you don't move the pen from where you're working. I think it's going to enable a whole new style of working. I think it's pretty amazing.
Bravo, Microsoft. Whoa! Do we pronounce it WOA? Windows on ARM? WOA?
Leo, a mere few hours after we spoke last week, Microsoft made what I would consider to be their biggest announcement of the year.
What? We speculated last week that they might be doing this, right?
I know. We knew, but we were under NDA.
Oh, you couldn't say.
Right.
Oh, you are cagey.
Yeah, we were under a tight one on that particular news.
If I was as giddy as a schoolgirl last week, Leo, it's because something wonderful was coming.
Why is this such a big deal, though, really? Tell me. If you think you know.
From my perspective, and you know me, I'm a wild-eyed dreamer type. I really No, I really do see this as a major reset for the PC industry. When Microsoft adopted ARM for Windows 8, I was so full of hope for that because I felt like this was Windows NT all over again. This was them having a chance to get this thing right again, you know? And of course, they came up with Windows RT, which was a piece of steaming garbage. But I always felt like that was kind of a missed opportunity. And so now they're doing ARM again. And there's two big differences. One is that ARM has progressed to the point where modern ARM processors are as powerful as Intel processors, but they don't come with any of the power management and battery life problems that Intel continues to struggle with. And Microsoft has figured out a way to emulate x86 on ARM, meaning that we can run Win32 desktop applications, Photoshop, iTunes, Chrome, whatever, supposedly at full speed, right? And by the way, in games as well. I'm not saying that like the latest Call of Duty is going to run with 60 frames per second, whatever. I don't think we have those advanced graphic capabilities yet. That's a different story. But, for mainstream Windows users, this opens up a new world of portable computers. And I should say that's the other amazing thing about this announcement. It's for portable computers. It's not for phones, although, that may change. And they've talked about different screen sizes. And I think Mary Jo has something about that. Mm-hmm. But the initial push for late next year, for a couple of devices probably, and then more like 2018, is going to be at redoing what we think of as the laptop, essentially, the laptop form in 2-in-1s and, mobile PCs. Full Windows 10, full Windows 10, I don't know all the SKUs exactly. They wouldn't say exactly, but meaning there's also going to be an enterprise edition. So full domain support, all the stuff that Windows RT couldn't do. Yep. I think this is it. I think this is the thing I thought Windows RT was going to be, and it wasn't. And it's going to result in this kind of new class of PC that has cellular data built in. Microsoft's going to sell cellular data through the Windows Store from a variety of carriers in every country. So you'll be able to buy data and be able to switch seamlessly between cellular and Wi-Fi like people do today on phones. And so we're going to see devices that look and work exactly like a PC, that run the same applications, that get killer battery life, have constant connectivity, and none of the downside of all the stuff that we've had over the years with Intel. Am I losing you, Mary Jo?
No, I agree.
I
think it's very interesting.
Oh, I can't wait to share this one.
No, I have a lot of questions about how this is going to work in the real world.
Yeah.
I think it sounds amazing on paper, but it's like, okay, are you really going to be able to run Win32 apps at a decent speed in emulation on these things?
Right. So here's all I'll say to that, because we don't know, right? Neither one of us knows. But what I can say is what we were told, which was that they were preparing this demo to go on stage. And, they're looking at this, ARM-based PC running Windows 10, and it's like, look, we want to show Photoshop. And the theory is, well, don't launch Photoshop. I mean, Photoshop takes forever to launch, even on a real PC. Right. And whoever had put this demo together said, no, we are launching Photoshop. We're going to do it in real time. I want people to see how fast that is. And actually, you can watch the demo for yourself. That doesn't equate to performance, right? Obviously, day-to-day performance, whatever. We'll have to wait and see. But, remember WOA, Windows on ARM, back in the day. Sorry, I'm so excited. I'm verklempt here. Sorry. I'm just crying just thinking about this. Back in the day, Windows on ARM, the big demo was like, look, we can print. It was like this Play School OS can print. And this time, here we are 4 years later, and it's like, we can run Photoshop full speed. And here's a game we're running full speed. So it's a different world.
Yeah.
We'll see. But you're right, though, to doubt. I mean, we'll see what the reality is.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. And the first devices we're expecting to see running this are probably holiday / back to school 2017 period, right? The very first.
At the very earliest. In fact, I think what we're going to see next year is not going to be particularly impressive. I think the first.
Right, agree.
It's going to be a small number of devices, nothing very serious. Yeah. And then I think CES 2018 is going to be the launch pad for the real big wave of devices.
Yeah, I bet you're right about that. When I first heard about it before, well, it's weird how we heard about this, right? Like I had that tip about emulation on ARM that I ran the week before WinHack. And I just assumed that meant mobile because I'm like, okay, where does Windows 10 run on ARM right now? It runs on mobile, right? But that wasn't what it was. It was they built an emulation layer to work on the full Win32 desktop version. So
yes, it's
we
incredible.
hadn't pieced that together, right?
The conversations we would have had, that we have had, because there have been rumors about this.
Yeah.
I've heard, I don't mean me personally. People had heard that Microsoft had created an emulation thing that would let desktop apps run on ARM. And of course, the first thing you go to is Surface Phone, docked with Continuum. That's got to be what this is, right? It doesn't mean that, phone form factors don't happen down the road. But you have to wonder now if this thing works, if it's successful. This is the opportunity for Microsoft to basically make a phone-sized device that is a real PC.
Yeah.
There's no reason it can't have a simple UI in front of it. That you dock it in is a real. But it's always a real PC. Not because you would ever run iTunes while you're talking on the phone, but there's no reason a 6-inch screen can't have a phone calling capabilities in it. It's going to have integrated cellular.
Right. So that was the thing I asked Terry Myerson. So we get a little bit of time with him before this announcement. The first thing I said is, okay, are you going to bring this to phones? And he said, we're not drawing a sharp distinction between phones and desktop.
Oh,
that's an exact quote.
That's very interesting.
Then I said, so what does that mean? And he said, we're going to bring this new version to 6, 10, and 14-inch screens. Like he just had these numbers, right? It's like, so they're saying
Which,
it's
by
going
the way,
to be all
they didn't
categories.
say on stage, did they?
No, they didn't say that on stage.
So that was an interesting admission.
Yeah. Because I was trying to press him for the Surface Phone thing, right? I'm like, okay, is this how you guys are going to do the Surface Phone thing? Like, that's where my mind's going, right? And he just said, you guys have this strong thought in your heads that there's phones and desktops, but we don't think of it that way. We think screen sizes. So there's the 6-inch category, the 10, and the 14, and we're thinking about it being available across all of those.
Yeah, I think they're going to lose the distinction between what we call Windows Mobile and what we just call Windows today, and I think that's fine.
I don't know what this means for Windows Mobile going forward, because Microsoft for now is continuing to update Windows Mobile and saying this is the operating system for phones. When does that go away, or does that go away at some point?
So the two possibilities there are that it doesn't go away and that it does. So let me restate that. Obviously, so
there's two
I'm here. I know. Listen, I have so much to add to this conversation. Sorry. What I mean is the possibilities here are they're doing it for themselves, right? In other words, that they could bring this capability to what we think of as a service phone. But I think and I should say to their partners as well, because HP and other companies are making Windows phones and they're supporting that kind of thing. But I really think it's about this other thing. I think it's about changing what Microsoft's mobile strategy is and taking the thing that they've done that is successful and making it more, available more broadly. But as far as Windows Mobile goes, I think the thing we need to remember about that is that it's the basis for other things that Microsoft does. In other words, there isn't really a clean step up from IoT to mobile to, whatever, HoloLens or Surface Hub to PC. It doesn't actually work like that. They're different branches off of some kind of, combined code base. And Windows 10 Mobile is not a subset of Windows 10. It's got additional features that Windows 10 doesn't have today, like the phone dialer and so forth. And so there's no doubt that Windows 10 Mobile features are going to come into main Windows 10 because we're getting those cellular capabilities. They're going to have to add that stuff. Yeah. But I realize we have cellular capabilities in Windows 10 today, but I mean cellular voice and messaging and things like that. So I mean, Surface Hub to me I believe is based on Windows 10 Mobile. So it's still kind of important from that perspective. We've got a big Surface Hub story for later. I think it continues, but no one would ever question, for example, does Windows IoT continue, right? I think we'd all agree. Right. Well, yeah, of course it does. But do they make a lot of money off that, or is it very broadly deployed out in the world? No, probably not. But I think these things all are valuable in a sense that they provide Microsoft with a lot of data about this system running on different form factors, different architectures, and so on.
Yeah. There's just so many angles to think about this, because it kind of did feel like we had thought about it happening back in the Windows RT day. Then we kind of said, oh, I guess it's not going to happen, right? And then here it is. And the other question I had when we learned about it is, I'm like, okay, so wait, why would anybody do a UWP app now if you have this? If the emulation technology really works as advertised?
Yeah, just stop now.
Why would you? Yeah. Why would a company go and build a UWP app? Because you could say, hey, I could just build, or take my 132 app and just run that. And Microsoft continues to say that they believe there is a valid reason for doing this, both because UWP apps require relatively little modification to work across all the different variants of Windows 10, and because they're safer, right? If they're locked down in the store, they're safer for people to deploy than an app that is not a UWP app. So they're concentrating on, I think, on those two things and saying there's still a case to make for having UWP apps. But for the apps that people don't turn into a UWP app, especially things like line of business apps or fully featured things like Photoshop, that maybe there'll be a UWP version, but it won't be the same thing as full Photoshop. I think that's kind of the fallback thing.
So let me do what I usually do, which is provide a more positive outlook on what's happening.
Yeah, please, Eeyore.
No, look, I look at it the same way. I mean, I think UWP is awesome, but I also think it's fair to say it hasn't taken off in any meaningful way whatsoever. So what do? The problem is this is the same approach that Microsoft has been pragmatically taking all along. If you go back to the idea of bridges, for example, the Centennial Bridge doesn't bring anyone into the UWP world, not really. It's a way to bring forward old big applications that are never going to get ported to UWP and give them a UWP shell and give them a couple of UWP features like live tile support and notification support, and just, kind of let them glide forward into the later half of their life or whatever, but really unchanged, right? It's not, there's no transition.
Is that true? I wondered about this, because, when you commit to the other kinds of bridges they have, I think they kind of say to you, okay, you can bring it in as a partially done UWP app, but you have to commit to making it a full UWP app at some point. Is that not true with Centennial?
I'm not sure. I can't imagine. I mean, I don't understand how they would enforce such a thing. But as far as the Centennial Bridge goes specifically, no, it's a 132 app in a wrapper. So, in other words, not that we're going to, well, actually, we just did. I was going to say, not that we're going to see Photoshop. Actually, we just did see Photoshop. So
yeah, we did.
Photoshop Elements is available through the store. It's a Win32 app. It is literally the same exact Win32 app. For the end user, the benefits are the things you just said, reliability, security, et cetera. Also, by the way, a license for 10 instances of that app, where Photoshop only gives you 2. So, you're getting 5 times as much usage out of the same app for the same price. It's awesome. So that's awesome. But it's not a UWP app, not really. Adobe could, I don't think they have, but they could add a couple of UWP features, like I said, notification support, live tiles, and maybe some other things. But here's the thing, and this is Microsoft being pragmatic. I look, yes, it would be better for Microsoft and for their ecosystem if Adobe made a full UWP Photoshop version, right? That would be better for them. It's not going to happen, right? So pragmatically, you want to give developers a way forward, and pragmatically, you want to give users a solution that will work for them. So Win32, for whatever its problems, is very popular with people who use desktop computers. So now they're going to be able to use them on ARM. I mean, yes, would it be better if it was, we just had UWP on ARM? Yeah. But isn't it actually better? Isn't it technically better to make all of your customers as happy as they can be and give them the things they expect? I mean, that was the problem with Windows RT. It looked like Windows 8. It looked like a duck, quacked like a duck, and then it was a turkey.
Yeah, because that's a really good point, because I think when Windows RT came out, and also, what else was I thinking along those lines? Something else. We kind of wondered who the target audience was, right, for that version of Windows. Because they are making it very clear, I think, with this 132 emulation layer, that the target audience for these ARM-based mobile PCs are not like people who wanted netbooks, not those people, right? It's supposed to be a full computer. like for professionals and for home users too. But I feel like they're kind of drawing a line in the sand with the Win32 emulation and saying, this isn't just for like people at home who want to be casual, occasional users. This is for people who can make this their full laptop, right? I mean, I feel like they're kind of.
You got to be pretty technical and be able to make some sacrifices to use that thing. It was crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, I think it's interesting, and it'll be interesting to see if their premise that people still want a PC even when they're mobile, and they don't want to necessarily only have a phone because of the limited screen size, lack of keyboard. I mean, you could connect it up with Continuum, but if you're just say on a train with your phone and suddenly you want to like look at an Excel spreadsheet, and actually make modifications to it.
It's weird. My mind literally reels at this topic because you can kind of feel the pushback from people. They'll say, "But I already have a phone that has cellular connectivity, and I can tether my phone to my PC. And what's the big deal?" The big deal is you're not using your phone's battery anymore, right? And think about the difference in the conversation you can have with a customer, whether you're working at retail or you're, a PC maker or whatever. Mm-hmm. Windows RT or Surface RT, right? You're like, okay, look, it's thin and it's light. It looks like Windows 8, but hold on. There's all these caveats. You want to be really clear they understand. You're not installing iTunes. You're not installing Chrome. You're not getting any browser extensions. This stuff is not going to work. There's a really awful conversation you have. Now imagine the conversation you have with Windows 10 on ARM, right? You don't have to even tell them about ARM. Nobody cares about ARM. What you tell them is that this thing gets crazy battery life. This thing has integrated cellular connectivity. This thing runs all of the apps. It's Windows 10. You don't have to have any caveats. It just works.
Paul, introduce our guest of the day today.
I don't know this man.
Oh, Mary Jo. Introduce our guest of the who is sitting there in between you. This guy.
That guy is Chris Capicella, who is the Chief Marketing Officer for all of Microsoft. Woo-hoo! And he was one of our best guests on Windows Weekly last year, and he agreed to come on again for some crazy reason.
Not just last year.
Pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Chris, welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be back in my attic, just like last year. But it was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to today, so thank you.
Well, don't, because we have some hard-hitting questions this time.
No, the first thing I said when we got Chris on the line is how much I love this Surface Studio. I think you guys just knocked it out of the park with this one.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, we've been pleased with their early reception, that's for sure. And I'm glad you're enjoying it.
And to match your shot, because you have a Surface Studio box behind you, we've moved the Surface Studio box here into the studio.
There it is. I love it.
Love that owl, by the way. The wallpaper is awesome.
The iconic owl.
Yeah, just fantastic.
It's a beautiful image on the screen itself. So the team decided to put it on the box as well. And I'm actually blocking a kind of unsightly kind of closet thing in my attic that I didn't really know how to block out, and my wife is like, "Why don't you just put that empty box up there?"
God, we got it out of the living room.
Exactly.
Do you use the Surface Studio?
I got a pre-release one at work, and I've been using it there maybe, 6 to 8 weeks before we had the big device launch day. For personal use, we knew that we would probably run out, so we decided to not buy any for our own personal use. But we were allowed to buy them as gifts. So I have a couple of architects that I happen to know, and this box that you see behind me I've done the unboxing experience, and now I get to rebox it and wrap it and deliver it later.
Let me give you a fun idea, because I do this to someone in my family every Christmas. Don't rebox it. Wrap it up in its exact shape, and just put it under their tree like that. It's hilarious. Like, I gave my wife a laptop one year that was like an open laptop, like the L-shaped one. We've done like a lamp, a bicycle.
Oh, you could just you mean wrap the computer itself?
Yeah, exactly.
So they can see the shape.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm very pleased to hear that Microsoft does the same tradition that we do every Christmas, called Family Hold Back. I don't know if there's going to be enough turkey.
Yes.
Let the guests eat first.
Right.
I think that's kind of amazing.
Wondering, did you poison it? How come no one's eating the food?
So you all, as much as I'm sure everybody at Microsoft wanted to have one of these in their office, held back on it.
Yeah, at least for personal use. We had obviously some pre-release hardware.
Well, you have to test it. Yeah.
A bunch of people had. But we just decided, hey, we obviously knew when the pre-order was going to go live, and we were in New York City, and we just decided, why don't we not have 5,000 Microsoft people ordering the first 5,000 units. Yeah. And so we'll see how well it did. I abided by it, but who knows? I think people may have jumped the gun a little bit anyway.
I was very grateful that I ordered it so quickly because I got mine ahead of time, faster than we even said.
You were a couple days. You did it in the first couple of days, if I recall.
I did. Yeah, on this show.
And then we were able to get it a little faster than we might have expected, I think.
That's really pleased. Yes, it said December 12th, and I got it November 30th. So I was And now because we mentioned this before the show that we have replaced the hard drive already.
Yes.
But it made it. We put an SSD, two SSDs in, made a big difference in the overall speed. And at this point, I'm thrilled with it. And we've got the slowest model. I got the base model. Really,
that's great.
Really great. Yeah.
It was fun to see you sort of take that thing apart.
Yeah.
You mentioned this before we started the show, but just for the people who we're going to check in later, just you said that you've been hearing from people in the stores that they really want to get this display separate, right?
Yeah. So at the Microsoft retail stores, one of the fun things about having those stores is you hear directly from customers right away. And so the day in New York, we were with you guys and launching the product, that night we had them in stores. And within the first few days, you hear that immediate feedback of, hey, people like the dial, they like the pen or whatever. And one of the most frequently asked questions in the store is, hey, can I just get the monitor without the CPU and hook up my existing machine to it, because the monitor is really beautiful. And so that's something that has been an early request, I would say, in the retail store experience.
Yeah. Listen, I will angle my camera so you can see me doing this. I will get on my knees here and beg you.
Oh, God.
Beg you to do this.
Yeah. I think we've been surprised by that. We obviously designed the whole thing to work together, and we weren't thinking of it as kind of a monitor, but, it's definitely feedback we've heard loud and clear.
Well, and also it's hard to remember, rather, that this is Microsoft's very first desktop computer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you didn't get to see other people's designs and stuff like that. It's not design in a vacuum, but nevertheless, very impressive for first time out of the box.
No, we're really pleased, and the production's gone well, and the early quality looks great. The reviews and the ratings on different websites we're really pleased with them. So that's just a great position to be in. We're obviously ramping up production, and we're excited to have a product that people are really kind of surprised by and really thrilled by. But we'll learn a lot. We'll see what people don't like, and what software they want us to do, and how they want the dial to be better integrated into the things they use every day. And we'll get a lot of feedback in the next probably 3 months that we'll be listening for.
When you look back at last year, I mean, maybe from more of a negative standpoint, if you will, I mean, are there regrets or things you might have done differently? I don't mean you personally, but as a company, I mean, I today did my year-end review. No, I mean, there are always pluses and minuses to any year. I mean, are there anything like that sticks out for you? I mean, I just to see it. I mean, I think of the way that Microsoft really aggressively pushed Windows 10 might have been scaled back a little bit, for example. I mean, anything like that for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a super long list. As we talked about last year, there was plenty last year, and there's of course plenty this year. We're always trying to sort of push the envelope, and sometimes we do it well, and sometimes we make mistakes. But for me, I mean, a couple of things. Just the most obvious one, the selling off of the feature phone business and the need to do that, and sort of where we are on phones is obviously a very, very tough place. And so when you think of 2016, that'll be something that we've all inside the company anyways, particularly at the senior leadership team. The billion device reset was sort of another one where we're really proud of over 400 million people using Windows 10, but with the phone situation, such a big portion of the billion was gonna come there. And then the last one for me, from a purely a marketing or branding perspective, is what Paul alluded to, which essentially was for me the getting too aggressive in pushing out the Windows 10 free upgrade. And we know we want people to be running Windows 10 from a security perspective, et cetera. But finding that right balance where you're not stepping over the line of being too aggressive is something we tried. And for a lot of the year, I think we got it right. But there was one particular moment in particular where, the red X in the dialog box, which typically means, cancel, didn't mean cancel. And within a couple of hours, of that hitting the world, we, with the listening systems we have, we knew that we had gone too far. And then, of course, it takes us some time to roll out the update that changed that behavior. And those 2 weeks, were pretty painful and clearly a low light for us. We learned a lot from it, obviously. But I think if I were to call out 2 or 3, those would be them. But there are plenty more. It's
well, we have 2 hours, Chris. So
I don't think Chris does.
No, wait.
Yeah,
so anyways, those would be handful.
It's actually really great to hear that from the inside.
It is.
And to hear what happened and how it happened. And boy, I wish more Marcom was like that, because it really then it shows that the company is paying attention, is listening. It does, from the outside, if you don't get that kind of feedback from what's going on the inside, it looks like, well, there were 2 weeks they ignored us.
Right.
Because we don't understand probably Paul and Mary Jo do, but average people like me don't understand the vicissitudes of change, of the update and all of that stuff. So it's really, I think it's really so refreshing to hear that.
Yeah, we don't hit like a single button and then everything gets pushed out to, whatever, 400 million machines. It's done in phases, and even just doing a new release isn't something we can do in an hour. It takes a little bit of time. And it's amazing that we've come as far as we've come. But still, when you do something like that, that's a painful window of time where that, frankly, your fans are the ones that are most upset. Your average consumer doesn't really necessarily notice. And so that's really a bummer, because you never want something you do to alienate the people who are rooting for you and putting their own personal reputation on the line.
They're always the loudest, of course.
And they're the ones who actually notice everything too. Right. So they hold you to the highest bar, which is as it should be. But lots of highlights, but plenty of lowlights.
You know who else is a highlight? Donna Sakar. And I think, like you, getting that information that she's shared to the insiders has been the same kind of. I have the same feeling about it, which is this is great to get this kind of communication from inside.
Yeah, communication and transparency.
Yeah.
No, the Insider program has been just a wonderful way for us to engage with folks. And, folks like Paul and Mary Jo know so much so quickly, and even before lots of people inside the company know it. But the Insider program, you've got, millions and millions of people. I forget the last public number we've shared, that we can have a really pretty good dialogue with and talk with in ways that your average Windows customer just doesn't care. But we get a level of feedback and a level of interaction that's really great. And, hopefully 2017 will be an opportunity for us to show more of that feedback coming into the core Windows product itself. And that bleeds over to devices and to Office, et cetera, et cetera.
What is your message for people who still are holding on for phones?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I remember having this conversation with you last year on this point for sure, and I'm still running the Lumia 950, and so I'm obviously a diehard on this side of the fence too. A couple of things in the near term. What I would say is, obviously our OEM partners are incredibly important for us, particularly in the enterprise space. And HP has done some excellent work on Windows 10. They along with Microsoft love this notion of the 3-in-1 using Continuum. You've got the phone, you can connect it to your laptop, and you can connect it to an external monitor, keyboard, and mouse. And for a bunch of enterprise scenarios, that's really interesting. So, in the near term, we're going to continue to partner with our OEM partners and hopefully have some great devices for people who want to stay on Windows as their mobile and their phone OS. Obviously, we continue to work on the OS to make sure it works across all these different form factors. The number one question I get, and you guys talk about it a lot, of course, is what about our own first-party hardware, our own phones? And there, I think the thing that you've sort of nailed in the past, but I'll reiterate, is for us when we want to do first-party hardware, when we want to do Studio or Book or Pro Pro. The number one goal we have is to essentially try to create a new category of device that hasn't been done before, that frankly can expand the total addressable market for the Windows ecosystem. So Surface Pro was really the one that said, hey, we think it's kind of crazy that people are buying an iPad and a MacBook. You should be able to have one device that's both a tablet and a laptop, thus that line of Surface Pro being the tablet that replaces your laptop. With Book, we wanted to have another two-in-one device where it has this beautiful clipboard detached from the base, but if you want that laptop experience, you can have that. And so that's a two-in-one. With the Studio, with Surface Studio, the line for that product is turn your desktop into a studio. Sure, it's a beautiful all-in-one, but most of the marketing work you see we show it, being tilted down into that studio mode with that 20-degree angle. And so it can replace, other devices that you had in addition to your desktop. And in all those cases, we're looking at creating a brand new category that our OEM partners can then follow behind us and do in massive volume, and that hopefully expands the number of devices that people want because we create something new. And so when we think about any new hardware, whether it's phone, whether it's tablet, whether it's desktop, you name it, HoloLens, we want to do something that hasn't been done before. We want to create a brand new category. And obviously, I'm not here to announce a new piece of hardware from Microsoft. 2017 is coming. We'll have great new things in 2017. Panos and the team are working super hard. But I think it's important or helpful for our fans to understand it. Why is it that we do this stuff? And our mental model has to be not just building another device that competes with a premium device in some category, but it's got to be different. It's got to have a different point of view, and hopefully that's creating a new category. And so that would be my answer. We were obviously kind of tickled that Apple came out with the iPad Pro with a pencil, with a keyboard, and started talking about it as as this thing that sounded a lot like ours. And in fact, their ads looked a lot like our ads. And a lot of people commented, I think that's a Surface ad, for goodness sakes. And for us, that was interesting because it was an example of us creating something that they then at first kind of said wasn't interesting, or they didn't think it was interesting, and now it certainly seems like they think it's interesting. So that's kind of what we have to do on the hardware side, I think.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this best of episode. It reminds me of what a great show this is, and I know many people have discovered the show for the first time in 2016. Our audience numbers have gone up quite a bit, and I welcome all of our newest viewers, and I hope you've enjoyed kind of going back and seeing all the highlights from 2016. I promise you, we're going to have even more fun in 2017. Microsoft's been one of the most interesting companies to watch in the last couple of years, and I think they're just getting started. We're not just getting started. We're in our 11th year now doing the show. We love it. I hope you will come back. We'll see you with a brand new episode January 4th, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1900 UTC. And, of course, you can always get, as with all of our shows, on-demand audio or video at our website, in this case, twit.tv/WW. Thanks for being here. Have a very happy, joyful, and let's hope peaceful 2017. We'll see you next year.
These are the type of technologies, I'm getting attacked,
Yikes.
that, debut in the enterprise. Of course they do.
Keep them over there.
I'm literally collecting flies.
You are.
Welcome to Hotlanta.
Yeah.
I had barbecue for lunch.
Let me try to get him.
Yeah, would you hit me, please?
Ready? Okay, ready? Sorry, I kind of got him.
She wasn't even aiming for the fly.
Sorry. Sorry.
That really hurt.
Sorry.